Okay, good evening. It is 6 o'clock, and I'll call tonight's regular meeting of the 10th Canandaigua Town Board to order. We will begin tonight's meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance by Councilperson Rowe.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, Heather, would you call the roll, please?
Councilmember John Casey.
Present.
Councilmember Terrence Fennelly.
Present.
Councilmember Emily Ruda. Here. Councilmember David Sauter.
Present. Here. Also confirm that the meeting is properly advertised.
Yes, it was.
All right, excellent. Birthdays for this cycle. Kristen Smith, Corey Rogers, Jesse Cooper, Dale Zacatus, and Shane Wheeler. And we wish all of them a most wonderful and happy birthday. There is the communications binder is still sitting on the table. These are the same communications located in there that were also included in tonight's agenda. We have our first privilege of the floor. So if there's anyone who would like to be heard at this time, the only reminder is that if you speak with the privilege of the floor, we do ask that you keep your comments to 3 minutes during that period. Okay, Oksana? 2 online? Okay.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Oksana Fuller, 3971 County Road 16. This privilege of the floor is from Sharon Nagel. She could not be here, but she did email all of you. So, and asked me if I could read. Hello, I was at the Wednesday, October budget meeting. Of the 30 to 40 people who chose to give their opinion that evening, the sentiment was not in favor of a full-time supervisor. Email respondents for tonight's meeting included 12 supporting a full-time supervisor position and 8 against. The way I interpret these combined responses is that the majority is opposed. Also, in my opinion, the supervisor should recuse himself from voting, as this is a definite conflict of interest. Sharon Nagel, 5910 Smith Road, Canandaigua.
All right, thank you very much. All right, we do have 2. You said we have 3 online, so I'll let you choose. So if you can hear me before you start speaking, if you could state your name and address for the record. And when you start speaking, I will start the 3-minute timer.
Hey everyone, this is Adam. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Adam Stahl, 4155 Turner Road, Canandaigua. I would like to ask the town board tonight to reconsider the law that was passed, local law number 7 in 2021, and amend it to allow retail cannabis dispensaries and on-site consumption. I would also like to ask to be invited to the next ordinance committee meeting to attend and present an opinion on behalf of that request. And there's a request later in tonight's agenda that you can disregard pertaining to Magical Weeds application for a retail dispensary in Canandaigua. We know the law right now is that the town of Canandaigua opted out. So when you get to that point in the meeting, I'll be gone, but you can disregard that request.
Okay, thank you very much. All right, you've got the control. All right, go ahead, Marion.
Hi, Marion Cassie, 4735 Westlake Road. I know that most people thinking about the budget have got one issue in mind, one line item, but I've got about 7 or 8 items that I hope I can get in 3 minutes. The first is I'd just like to state for the record that the town had been told by the school district that the rate would be $14.05 per thousand. a reduction from the 1986 per thousand, which was inflated by the fact that we were underassessed. Actually, when the tax bills came, it was 1509 per thousand. That's a 25% decrease when the assessment went up 35 to 37%. We've got to get, I know the town has no control over this, but that's the major part of our taxes that we need to get control out of. And I think the school district needs to hear loud and clear from everybody that we need to stop spending like we have an endless supply of money. I'd also like to point out that the projection that was in the preliminary budget out to 2028, the average home today pays, and that's the average home value, will pay 303. But the projection for 2028, which is just 5 years from now, is $914. That's a huge increase. And the town board, along with the supervisor and the town management, have to tighten their belts and have to live within our means. I have a question. Will the tax cap next year be based on this year's inflated 2024 budget? So that that increase would, if we don't increase it at all, would be zero. I'm very concerned about the multiplication factor on getting the tax cap back under control. I'd also like to question on page 45, the fund appropriations. The appropriations, it appears to me, from general fund in 2023 were $674,525. In 2024, it's going to be significantly less, $536,611. If you also look on page 45, when we were audited, there were recommendations by the comptroller, and I gather it was like a mild slap on the hand. But if you look at item number 3, according to what's written in the preliminary budget, it says property, but I think it meant properly, that they're recommending that we properly utilize excess fund balance. To me, that says they don't think we're properly utilizing our excess fund balance.
So Marion, your 3 minutes is up, so I have to cut you off right there. We do have, we will be continuing the budget public hearing, and you would have an opportunity to speak during that time.
Okay.
If you, since it's continued, Mr. Nadler, do we have, because I'm trying to keep track of who's spoken already spoken in the public hearing because it's continued. So that's a good point. Okay, so I'll check.
I don't believe Mrs. Cass did.
I don't believe you did, but if you didn't speak at the first public hearing, you'll have the chance to speak. You can also submit those to the clerk and they can be read into the record for the meeting.
Okay, can I continue during the second privilege of the floor?
You have that. You to keep it into, you'll have time during the public hearing since you didn't speak. So we'll just leave it. You'll have 4 minutes in the public hearing time. Okay. Thank you. All right, I'll let you choose. Richard. Okay, Richard, go ahead whenever you're ready.
Thank you. Richard Romanowitz, 5227 Pond View Way, Canandaigua. And I would just like to raise an objection to the salary increase for the superintendent, Jared Simpson. 330% increase in salary seems awfully excessive. So I'd like to raise that objection and have it entered into the record.
Okay, thank you very much. I did see Mr. Kanye, go ahead. If you want to come up to the mic, we'll take one person. Do we have any more online? Okay, and then we'll go back to our last online.
Carl Kenya, 5648 County Road 30. I as well want to state for the record my objection to the position of the full-time supervisor. I implore the council members, in particular Mr. Sauter, to consider denying this as well. The concern is great in many ways, but in particular, what are the responsibilities of the full-time supervisor going to be? How will they be meshing with the town manager as well? Or anybody else for that matter? I don't know if they've been shared, and if they haven't been shared to the board, the concern is why haven't we heard anything in terms of us as residents? Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. All right, our last one, who's our last one online? All right, Linda. As soon as you're ready, go ahead.
It's Linda Dworzak, 3582 County Road 16. I just wanted to speak because I heard that you have a new rule about public hearings that if you already spoke at one of the other meetings, you won't be able to speak. And I wanted to echo what Marion was saying about the increases in the budget. The $267,000 proposal towards salaries seems huge, and it's going to contribute to that increase that we're looking at over the next 5 years. So I feel like it's unnecessary at this point in the middle of a term to increase the supervisor salary by so much, because we don't have any kind of idea how that's going to work going forward. So you should probably come up with the job responsibilities ahead of changing the salary and changing the timing. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much.
One more.
All right, go ahead, Kathy.
Thank you. Kathy Rayburn, 3055 or 3305 Westlake Road. I have already stated my objection to the full-time position of the supervisor. It's disruptive to the government and how it's running smoothly. There's no need for a full-time supervisor. I also obviously am very much against paying somebody that much money who does not come to the employment of the town with credentials, but is instead elected. And we have no control over their work during their tenure. I'm referring now to where this extra money comes from that Jared feels he will use to pay himself. And I noticed that the income that was the money that was going to the roads had been diminished from the previous year. And that seems pretty hard to take. I don't know how Mr. Fletcher feels about that, but, and the other thing is that Kevin Mulvaney, when he met with the town and the city, outlined very well the need to have the matching funds already in place. In this case, he estimated 150,000 for the city and 150,000 for the town, so that when everybody had put together their plans of how they're going to mitigate these ongoing floods that are going to be coming, that the money is already in the coffer and evident, because the government will not give that grant unless the funds are sitting right there. If you apply for it and you don't have the money sitting there, they're not going to give the money. So, and I want to know what the plans are as far as, you know, Jared, I know you talked to a lot of people with flood issues, but what are you doing with the budget to help them? That's it.
All right, thank you very much. All right, is there anyone else who would like to be heard at this time?
Good evening. My name is Bonnie McGuire. I live at 6030 Gooddale Road. I've been a resident of the town for about 20 years, and I've had many interactions with the town over the years due to the position that I held with the public authority, and also as a resident. In turn, I can say I'm a little embarrassed that I'm here this evening because of the fact that I feel like things are not being done properly. And that embarrasses me because of the fact this town is an awesome community to live in. There has been such collaboration over the years that has been done to get things done. I've been very proud to live in this town. I am not in favor of this radical increase in salary. I don't consider it fiscally responsible, number one. Number two is the fact there has been, and I have not seen, and if it is out there, I'd like to know about it, what that proposal, what that job description looks like. How does that overlap with Doug's job? I feel like y'all better think long and hard before you do your final vote on this. There's a lot of residents that are not happy right now about any of this. And I think that you really need to think about the impact long-term as well. You all get reelected at different times. What might that look like? Is the next supervisor then supposed to get paid $94,000? How does that roll? In turn, if you're looking for someone with a communications background, a public relations background, there are people out there who do that type of work for towns that can be outsourced for much less. So please consider all the residents of this community, and please consider the fact that you need to be fiscally responsible, and this is not fiscally responsible. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Anyone else at this time?
Tom Knapp, 3939 Riley's Run. I'd also like to state my opposition to the salary increase, mainly because the people of this town did not vote for a full-time supervisor. And at the very least, if this is a consideration of this town board, a full-time supervisor's position should wait until the next election so that the voters of this town get to vote on people who and see their qualifications to perform the yet unspecified duties of a full-time supervisor. That's it.
Thank you very much. Any other hands at this time? You good on there? Anyone else in the audience would like to be heard?
Am I allowed to speak tonight as I address the?
During the privilege of the floor, yes.
I'm Jack. I'm Jack Kellogg. I live at 4851 Ashton Place. I spoke at the last budget meeting. This is, I believe, the town board meeting. This is why I showed up. The big reason is that I think the town board collectively owes the people a public hearing as to what they want to do, what they, being the townspeople, wants to do about the supervisor position or a manager's position. This came about back in 17, and I think you owe it to the townspeople. I would think that a simple amendment to the budget before you go forward and vote on the final budget, taking the line item out that I would believe was approved at the last budget meeting. You owe it to us. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anyone else? Any others online? All right, for priority business, I did want to provide a couple pieces of information. I don't know if you're here for part of that at all, Greg, or if you're here just to, because eye candy or whatever.
Well, yeah, I always fill that role.
The Bills game isn't on, so you might as well be here, right?
Yes. Just watch the Bills anyways.
So, seriously, you've been talking to Fletcher too much. Yeah, we've been talking to this guy at the end too much. So we had a public meeting on October the 9th with this interested residents on County Road 28 regarding extending the sewer district and creating a County Road 28 sewer district. Anytime a district is created, it falls on the residents of that district to vote and decide whether or not they want that district, because they and only they have to fund the expenses for the district. Kind of a straw poll of residents, because that's ultimately, they're the ones that would have to vote on that. It was about 60-40 against at the time. And that's taking two of the undecideds and giving them to the for, and two of the undecideds and giving them to the against, splitting right down the middle. So I think it's necessary that we as a board have a discussion, a brief discussion at this time about creating a petition and taking that next step, because we have two options, either a petition or a public, or we pass a resolution creating the district, and then the only way out of it would be through a permissive referendum where they would have to get signatures, the residents there to vote, kind of like an opt-out opportunity. So any thoughts from the board at this time?
I think passing a petition is the best opportunity for people to have their view heard. That was echoed in the Planning and Public Works meeting last week. I think Mr. Hoteling himself actually is. But I think that passing a petition is obviously costs a little bit of employee time as well, but I think that's probably our best way to get a true feeling for them, whether or not this is a majority or non-majority concern. And I'm also, we need to get an answer as soon as possible about whether or not that's where we're spending $750,000 of ARPA funding from the federal government too, so.
I would agree. I think we had roughly 30 parcels out of the 99 that are in that potential district represented here that evening. That's only a third of them. So there was, as you said, 60-40 split against it. So the only way to find out what people really want is to ask each individual parcel owner what they'd like to do. So, yeah.
I agree. I think you have to ask everyone. If only a third of the people are represented, we really need to get much closer to 100 than that.
Okay, Mr. Casey?
I concur with what has already been said and agree with it all.
Okay. So at this time, I'd like to entertain a motion so we can get moving on this and not put it off until, so we can get moving on this and take action before the next board meeting. To charge the town manager and the town attorney to draft a petition with a consult from Mr. Hoteling as well as part of this, to draft a petition in accordance with all New York State laws governing said petitions to be just prepared and distributed to the residents.
Seconded.
Okay, moved and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, carries.
Quick question.
Yes, you have a question, yeah.
You essentially want the petition to be, do you want the establishment of a sewer district extension? So just wanted to make sure.
And try and
plan and report. Yeah.
I'll get that out to you.
Oh, great.
Was there any preliminary costs associated with that? We'll be able
Yes.
to,
That's. what
There
I'm
was
saying.
discussion at the,
It's a tough
everybody,
question to answer if you don't.
well, the preliminary costs were presented at the meeting. There was discussion about adjusting some of the sewer areas and the size of the district and scope of the district. I think for this, if we move forward as constituted, we put it out there, we take it to the residents and give them the chance to chime in. And time is of the essence, so we can get it back. And it takes a while to get everybody.
Yeah, someone's got to go door to door.
Yeah. But also, and it will be in the warmest months of the year, so that'll be nice. Okay. You know, guys?
I know.
Okay. I also wanted to provide an update on the Citizens Committee that we've been meeting and discussing. The scope and future scope of the CIC. We met on October 5th. We discussed roles and membership. There are some members who decided not to continue with being part of the committee going forward. At the November 20th town board meeting, we'll bring what has been discussed at the last meeting to the town board during the priority business section, just for discussion and for input before any other, there have been no steps, nothing has been formally decided at this time, but just to get input from the town board to see what the charge is and what type of membership the board would like to see, and then engage the public in helping to create the membership of the committee. So that will be coming at the November 20th board meeting. All right, now we do have a continued public hearing, the public hearing on the preliminary budget of the town of Canandaigua for the year 2024. As always, as we mentioned before, if you did not have the opportunity to speak, since it is a continued public hearing, if you didn't have an opportunity to speak at the last public hearing, if you have a chance to speak tonight, we ask that you keep your comments to 4 minutes. You have a little bit longer. Oh, thanks. I've got a few in my pocket too. You have a little bit longer for the public hearing comment. So this would be the time to be heard for that. So is there anybody else who would like to be heard? All right, Ms. Menacott.
Good evening. My name is Catherine Menacott, excuse me. I live at 5154 Park Meadow Lane. I lost my voice, so I apologize. For those of you that don't know me, I was supervisor before Jared Simpson. I watched the last budget meeting and I was sort of horrified with the way people were acting. I've sat where Jared's sitting. I've been through what he's been through, and I would be remiss if I didn't come in here and explain what the job of supervisor is. He's your elected official. He is the one that is most responsible for what happens. He's the person that you can say if they get another term. It was said that when I took over, I didn't have experience. I take umbrage to that. I've been in public service for 37 years. I've been an attorney for that whole time. I've worked as a prosecutor, court attorney, public defender. One thing I know is law. When I first started when I agreed to run for supervisor, I was told, don't worry about it. We have a town manager now. You basically have no job. I said, wait a minute. I'm the chief elected official in this town. What is my job? My job is to be directly responsible to the people of this town. I believe in a representative government. This is a government. This is not a business. It should be run like a business in the sense that taxes should be kept in line. But that's the person, those people sitting up there are the ones that are directly responsible to you. I sat here for 3 years and was not able to say what I was thinking. And I said, if I ever get the opportunity, I'm going to come in here and explain that to you. This is our government, a representative government. I'm not talking about not having a town manager. This is the person. The job of supervisor is to be up on every law that's coming, state, federal, town, local, that affects this town. There's not anyone else in this room that's directly responsible to make sure that happens. I spent hours reading statutes and how they would apply, reading contracts to see how they apply, went to training. There's also his county responsibilities. Jared didn't know I was coming here today. I am no longer involved in the Republican committee. No one asked me to come here specifically today. I'm here because it's important to have a full-time supervisor. Whatever you decide to pay him is up to you. But I spent many, many hours, way more than what I got paid to do this job. And if you don't make it a job where someone can make a living, you are limited to people who are retired like I was, but also had another job, people who are independently wealthy, or people who just want to do this. Jared's a teacher. He's got a good job. He doesn't need this job. I know I wouldn't do it for any amount of money. But if he's willing to do it, give him a chance. We have a system of government that is a system of checks and balances. There should not be one person who's ultimately responsible. That's why we have a town board. That's why we have a town manager. That's why we have a supervisor. I think someone was concerned about.
You have 1 minute left.
Thank you. Most importantly, I think it was this woman was talking about, or no, I think it was Mr. Kellogg. The people did not vote for a full-time supervisor. It occurred to me, although I was not involved in politics at that time, that there was never a referendum for supervisor. And I did some research on that, and I can give these cases to your town attorney. Sacco versus Maruka, Homan versus Town of Clarkstown. Because one thing I do know, ladies and gentlemen, is the law. And in those cases, it says that the town board may not take away the responsibilities or the salary of the town supervisor without a townwide mandatory referendum, which was never done. So therefore, the procedure which put Mr. Finch in as town manager was illegal. What you do with that is up to you. I will leave the cases from the town attorney.
All right. So is there anything you're looking at that, Mr. Nadler?
I'll take a look at these and let you know what I think.
Okay.
I mean, in light of that, is the current salary that's not, I mean, it was 56,000, I think, when in 2017.
So based
Is
on.
that, is
based-
that indicating that that's against state law, that was reduced down to 20?
My knowledge of the situation and what law I can recall, which is the statute governing the situation at hand, is that duties can't be taken away from a supervisor that is statutorily provided for and or have been assigned to the supervisor by the town board. In each and every case that I'm aware of, the supervisor consented to the duties being reassigned or reshifted to the town manager position. In terms of the salary, my understanding is that it was at the change of a term. My knowledge of New York State salary law is that you can't change the salary of a supervisor or reduce the salary of a supervisor mid-term. You can do it at the beginning of a term. As I recall, it was the beginning of Greg Westbrook's term. Elected term, excuse me.
I thought Mr. Westbrook was appointed initially as a supervisor in February.
And Doug just said it was the beginning of his elected term.
He was elected.
That being said, I will absolutely read these cases and let you know if my opinion changes, but I'm confident that the existing supervisor's salary and the existing structure of the town of Canandaigua's government is entirely within the bounds of New York State town law.
Is there anything
I'll have to take a look at these cases and let you know.
all right,
But I'm
I mean,
confident.
she is reminding me of something, when I was in training for the Association of Towns earlier this year, a similar concern was brought up by them that there needs to be a public referendum when the supervisor's salary or any elected official salary is reduced.
So I'll have to take a look at these cases and see if they're applicable here.
so can you look at
I've
that?
never read these cases, so I don't want to comment on
Okay,
their content.
so can you look at that?
Absolutely.
Not often that you get homework from one of the, well, you get different homework,
Two things of
but
homework
you got
already.
two
We're
things
not
of
even
homework.
into the meat of the meeting.
So I'm trying to wrap my head around, okay. So can you look at those? And then render an opinion on those?
Absolutely.
Because they're two, I think also. Because I didn't pick up everything that Councilwoman Rudolph was saying, but you talked about the term and you talked about the time of the term and when it was. Can you do all that
Yes, I'll find,
and
yes,
create a timeline
yes, absolutely.
for that? Okay,
Please treat this up.
all right. Because I wouldn't, and regardless of what the situation is, I mean, I don't want anything to,
I don't even want the question to be raised. I think, I know Kathy is good as top line at this kind of law, so if she said it, I'm gonna take a look and make
Okay.
sure that
all right,
we're doing things the right way.
Okay.
and We have in the past.
all right. You get where I'm going with that.
Absolutely.
Okay,
Thank you.
all right. Thank you very much. Is there anyone else who would like to be heard for during the public hearing? All right, Marion. You remember?
Okay. Continuation. First
I
of all,
thought you
I'd
forgot.
like to say thank you to Kathy Manikatz. Very good work, Kathy. Also, I'd like to make it very clear that I am in full support of a full-time supervisor with a commensurate salary. I think there are many other places in the budget where the town should pull in their belt One of which is I sent a letter to all of the town board members and the town manager in regards to the $30,000 for fireworks that are intended to be blown off in an hour on the 4th of July. And in that email, it included a link to the city of Canandaigua's meeting on October 10th, where they are going to do an investigation as to whether it's harmful to the lake and harmful to wildlife and harmful to a lot of things. And then if they find that it's not, they're going to do the fireworks and possibly partner with either the lake house or the lake house and the country club, et cetera. But in this year where we are significantly exceeding the budget, I don't think it's the year to put something brand new in, $30,000 to blow off into the sky. And I hope that you will take that out tonight. I also have a question in regards to page 55. I've done enough budgets in the budget. I've done enough budgets in my life when I was in business and also when I was on the town board to recognize slush when I see it. There is an item on page 55 that says town manager contractual training, 1,500. No idea what that is, what it's about, who it's supposed to train, but looks like slush to me. Also on page 60, there's general administration miscellaneous. Just throw in another 5,000 slush. I think there are places in this budget where you can take out significant amounts of money and has nothing to do with the supervisor becoming full-time or not becoming full-time. And I'd like to remind all those people that said, you know, that they voted for a part-time supervisor. You never got a chance to vote for whether or not we should have a town manager for 140,000. So I think that's a bit of a red herring. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Anyone else like to be heard at this time? Anybody else online? I don't want to jinx it because I was going to say with all the other people online. Looking good. Anybody else?
Yes. I'd like to make a motion to reduce the line item supervisor's salary to $22,518.
In light of
And that represents
the information from Mr. Nadler that he still needs to find out, and you can finish your motion, but I will make a motion to lay it over till the next meeting.
in light of what, yes, our attorney has to research. I still want to make the motion that we reduce the line item for the supervisor's salary in the tentative budget to $22,518, which represents the current salary plus a 3% increase and one additional dollar, so that it is not a duplicate of a previous motion that I have made. I'll second it.
I will be voting against it again because of the new information presented. I don't feel comfortable voting on a salary that I'm not sure it's complying with New York State law.
I can't hear you.
I'll back up.
I'll be voting against it because I'm not sure it's complying with New York State law in light of the new recommendation.
So can we,
What's the timeline on your piece of this?
Not tonight,
Right,
probably midday tomorrow. I just realized, and you'll find out why I realized it later. You can't forcibly lay over a motion. You can only do that on a resolution or local law. That being said, you could make a motion to table.
Okay.
The motion.
All right.
I'm not comfortable rendering a shot in the dark, off the cuff decision on something like this. I like to have facts and research to back it up. So I'm not gonna tell you it's gonna be tonight. It'll take the time it takes to come up with an
Right,
accurate
for sure.
decision. But it's gonna be a priority, so tomorrow or the day after, I would think.
And I think it would be inappropriate for any of us to
Think that that would.
think that it would be more than complete due diligence.
Tell me exactly what it is exactly that you're going to be researching.
Don't know. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to be flippant there. I'm gonna take a look at these cases. There's one from the second department in 2023 and one from the fourth department in 1991. I would think that they have something to do with, there's a lot of law that says you can't change the supervisor. I mean, you can't say, hey, we don't like this guy, let's get him to quit by reducing his salary to $1 in the middle of his term or her term. That's illegal. Everyone knows that. There's a lot of law about that. So I'm assuming these cases have something to do with that, but that's just a off the cuff reaction. So I will be reading these cases and the relevant statutes in New York State town law and whatever cases and statutes these cases lead me to.
So we are in
Janet,
fact
Janet?
not reducing
Yeah.
our supervisor's salary. That's not what the motion does. The motion is only creating a budget in a line item in our budget for the supervisor's salary.
Well, I believe, I think that's an accurate statement. I think that former Supervisor Menikotz's point was that you can't do any of that without a permissive referendum, which made the allegation that possible that the creation of the town manager position illegally reduce supervisor salaries and duties that without a permissive referendum. I think.
So I think that's the gist of it. That's the big umbrella.
Can you
That's
finish
the
what
big
you were
thing.
saying,
So
please?
you could make this motion, you could vote on this motion because you would still have the option, if it passed, to conduct a permissive referendum. That being said, I don't know that. That being said, that's all I have to say.
Well,
So
that being
in
said, we don't
essence,
know.
What I heard you say was, we could still vote on this, and if there was a need for a permissive referendum to determine whether we wanted to, we were allowed, or we did hire a town manager back in 2017, whether that was the appropriate thing to do or not, the legal thing to do or not, we could go correct that by having a permissive referendum.
No, you couldn't correct that from 2017 because the time frame within which to conduct permissive referendum by statute had to.
It's
expire.
expired.
Okay, so what
I
would
think
you
we
do
have
with
to
a permissive
allow-
referendum?
I think we have to allow our town attorney to spend time to digest the information he's
Yeah.
been presented with and come up with a recommendation for the
Well,
town board.
If I'm asking questions that the town attorney is uncomfortable with, I'm sure the town attorney will say so.
Well, let's address the town attorney.
The town attorney is gonna tell you this. I'm not rendering a decision on what happened in 2017 tonight. I wish I could. I'm just not comfortable doing.
You're good, but you're not that good.
Thank you. That says it exactly
Yeah.
right.
But what I heard you say, and correct me if I'm wrong, we could vote on this motion tonight. And if there needed to be a correction, we could do that at some later date.
I believe that to be the case. That being said, you've stated intention to lay over.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to lay this on the table,
To table.
to table it.
I will second tabling the motion until we've heard from our town attorney.
What are we tabling now? The motion Jan made
Yes.
Yes.
to reduce the salary, or not to approve an increase in salary, not reducing it. Because there is a 3% increase in the salary, just the same as the rest of us are getting. That is not reducing anything.
I'm confident that the procedure in the budget process by making a motion to increase or reduce a line item, regardless of whether it applies to the salary, is appropriate. It may by case law, with which I'm not familiar, requires some sort of a referendum. But I would believe it would be permissive referendum, and that would by statute take place after the vote.
We already reduced the town board members. The recommendation was to put $1,500 extra in each of our pockets. We reduced that with no issue.
We didn't reduce,
Unanimously to not allow that to go forward.
we didn't reduce
That
the
was a-
salary. We took off the
That was a
1,500.
that was the
We're not
stipend.
reducing this salary either.
I know.
So I would, so we have a motion to lay it on the table, to table it. And there's a second. So any further discussion? All in favor?
I,
Opposed?
Nay.
Okay, carries. So that's laid on the table at this time. That will give you your time to do your diligence and to figure out if there's anything to what was said, and if there isn't, fantastic, and if there is, what we need to do to remedy it.
If I could just real quick, just so everybody's aware, I'll provide all this information to the town attorney. The supervisor's salary was never reduced in 2017, and we have all of the HR and the records for that. The supervisor in the year 2017 made a donation back to the town in the difference, and the salary was never increased until January 1st, 2018, confirmed through the elected term. So that's the way that was demonstrated.
I have a question. When are we going to vote on adopting the budget? Resolution.
No, there's not.
Tonight. Traditionally, in the past, what we've done is had public hearings. There are no huge problems as there is here with the salary that you're demanding.
Well, I
We
think
have
there are
always
others.
voted
I think
on
Marion
the
brought
budget.
up some. I think there are other, I mean, Linda brought up multiple other increases, so I think there's
So we're
other,
gonna go back through every one of those?
you want to?
I don't want to.
Okay.
You approved all that already yourself.
We did. All right,
I'd like to make another
want to
motion.
know when
Okay,
we're
any
going to
other-
vote.
I'd like to
And-
make another motion. I would make a motion that we have, can you correct me, Mr. Town Attorney? If I say this incorrectly, but I'd like to make a motion to have an emergency meeting to discuss the town budget. And I'd like to do that within the next 10 days.
That is consistent with New York State Town Law, chapter 62-2, that if two people and the town board request that in writing, signed, that must occur.
why are we not discussing the town budget right now?
yeah,
Well, you just said you
Because I
didn't
don't
want
think
to.
anybody's prepared to.
that's what we're
John, if
doing.
you'd be so good as to sign this.
That's what we're doing.
We can present this to the supervisor and we can request a meeting within the next 10 days.
I think you have a motion. That meeting the next 10 days.
Just in case it's not approved, we can make this ready.
Is there a second on the motion?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So there are 3 votes. So the next 10 days? Does that give you enough time to do your
I'll have.
magic?
Absolutely.
Perfect.
What date?
Calendar, see when you can get it done by, Mr. Nadler.
I'll have it done in a matter of, we'll have it done by, Wednesday, the 18th at the latest, maybe the 19th, but not later than that.
Okay. So I assume you gentlemen have dates.
Let's do it on the 19th.
I'm unavailable on the 19th, and I believe Dave is as well.
Okay, the 19th is out.
Week from today. 23rd.
It would have to be during the day. I'm unavailable that night.
Yeah, I'm unavailable that night, but I'm available during the day.
How late are you available? How late are you available on that day?
About 3:30, before 3:30.
Okay, 3 PM. That's as soon as that we can do it. If you want to do it on Monday.
3 p.m.
John?
I only hesitate because I would like the meeting time to be such that the public, if they're interested, can attend. And I think 3 o'clock is prohibitive for many of the people in the community.
24th.
There's the Ontario County Public Meeting for the Hazard Mitigation Plan on the 24th.
Is that meeting here?
No, but it's a countywide meeting.
It's at the Ontario County Safety Training
Yeah.
Center.
Hate to say this, but on Friday,
27th, I am unavailable.
Friday the 20th.
I am also unavailable.
25th.
I am unavailable, as is
There's
other members.
there might be a few
25th, you
people.
said?
There might be a few people
Number of people
unavailable on the
unavailable
25th.
I mean, you hate to say Saturday, but what about Saturday?
20, I'm in Buffalo both Saturdays, so.
So what are the options that are on the floor right now?
Monday, 3 PM and
23rd,
23rd.
Thursday the night. Either of which.
Thursday, the 26th, I have a county board meeting.
Okay.
Thursday, the 19th, there's court.
Dave and I are also available that night.
Right.
Right.
So 3 PM the 23rd, if that works for you guys, I think that's all we got.
Is there consensus?
Looks like the only date. Is everyone available?
And you are not available, Adeline, the 19th.
I
I'm
am
not either. I'm not
Dave and I
either.
are both not available. next week.
Or Friday the 20th, you're not available.
I'm in Buffalo.
Saturday the 21st, you're not
I'm
available.
in Buffalo.
So then the question becomes, is it more important to meet with 5 of us at a non-convenient time for the public? Or is it more important for us to meet with 4 of us at a time that is convenient for the public?
So you're talking for a budget vote?
Oh, not necessarily. We might just be voting on one line item, the one we can't discuss tonight.
Well, I counter that. I think the budget vote is what's important. This is being carried in.
It is.
So
So
be resolved one way or the other. Right, 23rd at 3 o'clock was
I think that's the only time that we have everybody lined up. Okay, 23rd at 3 o'clock.
Doug, can I ask a question about the budget in general? We talked about this before, and I just wanted your explanation to be clear. As you know, we funded the contingent tax reserve with additional funding from the sales tax that we received last year. And I was wondering, with the contingent tax reserve, is there any opportunity that we can use some of the funding from that to help offset the fire district budget's increase from this year? It's a little higher than the town tax rate. And you and I had
Yeah.
discussed this previously and wouldn't necessarily recommend it, but I just wanted to be clear to the residents why that was not necessarily.
No, absolutely. Great question. And so the contingent tax reserve can be used to offset any of the tax levies. And I just want to come over to the podium so that the folks on Zoom could hear me. But it could be used to offset any of the tax levy. So obviously we have all of the special districts. The fire fund, for instance, is a special district that all of the taxpayers in the town of Canandaigua pay into the fire district fund. One of the concerns about the fire is a year ago, the town board approved a 3-year contract with the 2 fire departments that provide service to the town of Canandaigua, being the Cheshire as well as the City of Canandaigua Fire Department. And there's another increase again next year. And the other big thing that we have going on right now is we're very fortunate. Interest rates are very well. And I know we've talked about this in the finance committee that you lead. I think year to date, and I'm doing this off the top of my head, but approximately $400,000 in interest income, I believe, has come in this year. And so one of the schools of thought is, while get the interest income while the getting is good, unknowing exactly what's going to happen and knowing that we're going to see another substantial increase in fire again next year with another increase. And maybe we could offset something there next year. Maybe we can use sales tax, see how sales tax goes this year and those sorts of things, but really trying to keep that relatively consistent. And that was one of the reasons why the tax levy for the general highway fund was set the way it was, to keep the dollar figure for the average 37% increase house assessed value, to keep that dollar figure relatively flat, knowing that we have that increase in the fire. Does that?
Yeah, I just want, I think we definitely should be taking a peek at that for next year, because that's why we have the contingent tax reserve there. The other question, someone brought up during the privilege of the floor, there was a reduction in highway spending. Is there a reduction in highway spending this year?
I actually pulled up, if I can just pull up here real quick, just so I can share this with you. I just want to pull up the little worksheet that we use. And this is a good snapshot to just kind of see what's going on overall in expenses. And so we can see here that overall, this is the highway fund. Last year, the spending was 4.3 million overall. Here's the expense side. I'm sorry, that's revenue, 4.3. And then this year is 4.7. So it is an increase in overall expenses for highway. The biggest increase in expenses there is actually capital expenditure. So that's capital equipment. That's the 0.200s is what it's called. So that's things like trucks, equipment, all of those types of things. They're also, I believe, the CHIPS fund, the way that they make us do that now is actually a 200. So that's there. But there you can see there, that's about a $226,000 increase there. And then there's about a $50,000 increase in benefit costs. Benefit costs continue to go up. And that's something that I had shared in the budget messaging is that's something we really need to be concerned about over the next couple of years, with benefit costs continuing to increase.
We're going to be having a finance meeting regarding capital planning coming up, which I'll discuss during the finance report.
While you're up there, there was a comment made about the increase in the tax, average tax paid going up dramatically over the next 5 years. The capital cost that the city is requesting from us to sock away to make improvements at the water treatment plant. How much of that increase from the 78% projection for next year to the, what was it, $1.88 or 89 or more 5 years out? How much of that was because of that capital increase being put into the budget rather than into the usage of water going forward?
I think I followed you, but it would be zero because it's not in the general highway fund.
No,
So
I'm not talking about.
You're talking about the water
fund.
The overall.
Yep.
What you're Yeah.
So I ran updated calculations here, and this is based on that conversation. This is not what your official preliminary budget is, but this is just based on our conversation, right? Taking that $194,000 to $1, just to show that we took it out, right, as we traditionally do. Increasing additional money for water meters that we had talked about last week when we met, and then lowering the levy from it was 885 to 791. That lowers the tax rate to 62 cents per thousand for Canandaigua Consolidated. And then looking in the out years, because this is all formula driven, you see then it goes from 62 cents to 68 cents in 25, 78 cents in 26, and then 87 cents in 27. Now, again, those costs can fluctuate, but one of the things that I've kind of called out here a couple of different times is we know that costs for capital expenditures, pipe, everything else keeps going up, and benefit costs keep going up. And so those are probably two of the biggest costs that we really have to be paying attention to and thinking about a strategic plan, a strategic initiative to deal with those increased costs. So with taking out that $200,000 and $300,000 respectively over the next 3 to 4 years, as we had been originally, it looked like what we were going to have to do versus this new model of putting it into the rate. For the water users, the actual tax levy tax rate goes down versus where it was. But as you've correctly pointed out multiple times, Terry, we, the town residents, are still going to end up paying it. We're going to pay it through our water bill instead of through our tax bill, unless you don't use as much water, correct? Did that answer?
Different packet.
Yes.
Doug, I was looking at the YouTube of the meeting that I missed, and fireworks came up at that meeting as well.
Yes.
And you were gonna look into sponsorship. Were you able to look into that? Is that something that we could consider as a town board?
I think it was brought up. It wasn't, I don't think I was directed specifically to look into sponsorship on behalf of the town. I think that, it's certainly something that, could be thrown out and discussed, but that's not in the budget, no.
Okay.
Speaking of fireworks, there are a lot of people that have said to me, yeah, we like the idea of it. Probably just as many say, no, I don't like it. The city is going to consider doing something. Maybe we should reduce the amount we put in there, cut it in half. And if the city says, yeah, we're gonna do it, split the cost of the city. If not, we won't spend the money, 15 grand that goes into unused funds, so. And if the city talks the Lake House and others into doing it, well, be it, neither one of us have to put a dime in. We still save the 15, just don't leave it in there at 30 grand.
Remind me, what was our allotment before the city canceled them? Remind me, what were we contributing?
It was about 2,000.
2,000?
2,000 per year is what we were contributing. So keep in mind, and I hate to use this terminology, but it is true. That number, even of that 30,000, is a placeholder. That doesn't mean that the city's getting $30,000 or that we're going to spend money, 30,000 on fireworks, right? So what we've done in the past is there was a placeholder put in the budget of a couple $1,000s. This was prior to the pandemic. And then in January, when the town board passed at the organizational meeting, there was usually a resolution that said they were authorizing the $2,000 of expense to support the fireworks. And that's when it would actually kick in for us to actually cut the check and issue the check.
Personally, I'd like to keep it in there as a placeholder. Contrary to what you've heard, Terry, I've had a number of people approaching me excited about the prospect of having that celebration coming back to Canandaigua that have been disappointed since 2020 when it was canceled. So also, I will say personally, being born on the 4th of July with a daughter born on the 4th of July and a grandfather born on the 4th of July, I like fireworks.
Really not. I'm just saying cut it in half, and the city agrees to do it, whatever the number is, we pay half. And they pay half, rather than.
I think we're not gonna know what it's gonna cost till we get there anyway, so it's just kind of like you said, it's a placeholder at this point, it's.
Well, for $15,000 placeholder instead of 30. I mean, I've had both sides of it. Myself, I like it myself.
I would, if we were to take it down to 15 or 10, and then that would encourage the And then we could make a direction to see if there are any sponsors willing to help kick in with that. Then that could help offset some of that cost and give a little bit more motivation to do some of that offsetting of cost. Because I think we had talked about funding the whole thing with that. Well, we can't fund the whole thing because you have the city costs of cleanup and garbage and police and everything else. So I mean, I would be okay making a reduction. I don't know where anybody else is in it.
I would love to see sponsorship, just take, I mean, if we put a placeholder in there for one thing and with some sponsorships for fireworks, seems like a win-win.
Yep.
Which might be letting the lake house off easy.
That's why
But we don't want to do that, right?
we don't want to let them off easy.
That was $30 worth.
Yeah. Would people be comfortable with 10 as the placeholder?
I'd be comfortable with splitting it in half, as Jerry suggested, leave it at 15. It's a placeholder. And if we can get the city to contribute, I think it's good for both communities. It brings a lot of people to the area, brings a lot of business to the area for that particular day. And I think for the whole weekend, it's a good thing for our community. Brings people to the area. So I'm in favor of the $15,000.
Is that a motion?
That's a motion.
And I assume you had a second. Any further discussion? All in
I
favor?
just don't want to give up on.
One question. So there's currently 30,000 in the budget, so you're going to reduce it to 15,000. Am I to assume you're going to appropriate the other 15,000 to contingency?
Yes.
Okay, that was part of the motion. I think I heard.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thanks. Yeah.
I just don't want to give up on sponsorship. I
Right.
think that's something
And that,
we really need to
right.
pursue.
I'll agree with that as long as,
We
I
pursue
just want to
sponsorships.
ensure that there's a display that's happening.
Right.
However we have that happen, I want to ensure that there's a display.
Even if
that
it's just one going up, right?
$15,000
$15,000 firework, one singular firework. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries, decided something.
Just
15,000 out of fireworks
Yeah.
into contingency.
So it's still the net result of the budget
The
is the
net's
same.
the same.
It's just we'll put that extra 15,000 into contingency. If I just point out here real quick while I'm right here. So again, this isn't finalized, obviously, with that water question that we were just asked. But based on this does lower because we'd be dropping the tax levy, taking out essentially almost $100,000 out of the tax levy in water. That would lower the non-compliance factor. However, we're still not compliant by $584,000. So I just want to point that out, that we're still nowhere near tax cap compliant on this budget.
So we're closer.
That's one way to look at it.
How does the water districts drop on, or the levy drop 100,000?
Because of $194,000 that we no longer have to levy against the residents. So, yeah.
Instead of levying it, it's added into the use and trade.
Stay there. I have more nitpicky questions about the budget.
Let me grab my budget binder.
Yes,
just in
grab your budget binder. This is page 49 of 124 and the big numbers, if everybody's looking at their big numbers. Or 3 of 63 and the small little ones.
Sorry, you said 49?
Yeah, the big numbers.
Okay.
49 of 124.
Sorry, where are you again?
49.
Page 49 of 124 of the bigger numbers. It's on under 9. It's under tab 9 in your budget. So my question was just, I noticed the Ontario County mortgage tax. In 2022, you had budgeted $300,000. 2023, you had budgeted $300,000. You reduced it to 275 for 2024. I was just wondering what the reasoning was for that. And
Yeah. So what we actually saw with reduced interest rates in 2020 as the things were really ramping up in March and April and May of 2020, there was lowering of interest rates and there were a lot of people refinancing. And that's a big portion of where that mortgage tax money comes from, is refinancing. There's also sales that factors into that, but a overwhelming percentage of that is the refinancing. So, you know, with higher interest rates
Yeah.
that we're seeing, There's less refinancing happening, and so it's not a big reduction there of $25,000, but it is. So this is the line Terry was just asking me if I was going to show it up here. So that's this line right here. You can see it was in 2020, it was 230, and then 2021, 230, and then up to 300 for 22 and 23, and then the estimate is 275
Right,
for
so
24.
just one,
Yep.
right? And the other question that was brought up, I believe by Mrs. Cassie, was regarding the town manager training line that was, I think, $1,500. Just wondering if you could explain what that's used for.
Sure, happy to. Let me, I just want to pull it up. It's
I couldn't find it from the page she was indicating. before.
town manager contractual line. So that's on page 53 and 54. I believe those are the references. And in 2023, that number was $9,430, and it's actually being reduced this year to $9,060. And that includes office, the general office includes HR, human resources, that includes finance clerks, cell phone stipends, that includes finance clerks GFOA membership, that includes the town manager's ICMA membership, that includes the town's New York Planning Federation membership, that includes the New York ICMA managers membership, that includes office supplies, subscriptions, and then that $1,500 is for any training that is needed for those three individuals in that staff. So, you know, a lot of times conferences or trainings, you know, there may be a $300 or $400, $500. I was just trying to look at where we're at to the year to date. So year to date, we've actually spent, as of the date this was printed on 8/8, the total activity was $5,444, but the budgeted amount was $9,430. So.
Okay, great. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Adeline, were you going to ask me another question about the?
Oh, you now?
It's up to you.
Okay. We had a taxpayer reach out at the last meeting. It had a couple questions for you. If you could just respond to their questions, I'm sure you have them down better than I do at this point, so.
Yes, so there were some questions, one of which was actually very similar to the question you asked me about highway cost increases and what that looked like. And that's this number really right here, the difference, about 250,000. You know, it shows overall, you know, just about $300,000 increases from 4.3 million to 4.7 million for highway going up. So there's about 50,000 of that in benefit cost. That's total benefit cost. So that's your FICA, that's your workers' comp, that's your medical, that's your every single cost for those, is it 18 guys? Yeah. Is wrapped up in that 497 number, and the specific medical plans that they're on and those sorts of things. That 250 plus or minus $1,000 expense increase there for the capital projects. Those are specifically the 0.2s. That's the equipment like we talked about. That's like the New York CHIPS thing. That was a change by the comptroller's office in the way that they wanted us to account for that, because there's an asset being improved, the roadways and those sorts of things. But the 0.200s are, that's the comptroller chart of accounts. They require us to do 0.100s or personnel's, 0.200s or any capital expenditure, includes equipment, those types of things. 0.4s are contractual expenses. That doesn't necessarily mean that it's a contractor. It means it's the general expense. A 0.4 expenses, all those miscellaneous things that add up. For instance, like the highway supervisor provides a 284 agreement with the town board. Generally, that all that money falls under those 400s. So that was that. I think the other question, if I remember correctly, was a increase in the overall levy, which I think we can see here on the this 4.6 number. That is absolutely true. There was an increase in the levy, and that's because that includes all of the special districts, the drainage districts, the water districts, the lighting districts, the fire district, and all those things. So generally overall, when we talked about the general fund expenses,
going from 5.114 to 5.183. Obviously, that's, there's an increase there of, what is it, $70,000 plus or minus approximately in the general fund. But it's all of those other increases in all those special districts. And in particular in fire, there was a pretty substantial fire. There was a 32% increase in fire expenses, I believe, for Cheshire, and an 8% increase for the city of Canandaigua fire. So that was a, pretty substantial increase there, going from 1.4 million to 1.49 to 1.755 for those.
Doug, I know you've answered this before, but if we raise around $100,000, what is the tax implication of that? You
It
have,
just
or
changed.
however it is,
Yeah.
your question.
It just changed, and it increased with the tax levy, and I'm gonna butcher it if I try to pull a number off the top of my head, but
You can just email it, it's fine.
it's relatively small.
Yeah.
It's a relatively I want to say off the top of my head, let's just say ballpark, something like if we levy an additional $20,000, it's a penny or something or other. It's a relatively small comparison, but I'm sure I just butchered it by doing a number off the top of my head. So
To translate, an increase, a 1 penny increase in the tax rate would raise an extra $20,000.
approximately, give or take.
I mean,
If you can let me know that number, that's
Yeah, I will.
helpful.
That's the-
Thank you.
Any other questions on that from the board?
Dave, I don't know if you were able to have all your questions answered on the budget yet. Since you-
I'm pretty good. I've
Okay,
looked at the meeting I missed, and a lot of those were answered there, yeah.
okay, awesome.
Any other questions on that? Okay, anyone else like to be still in the public hearing before we close it? Okay, so at this time I declare the public hearing closed. We'll move on to reports of officials and department heads. Jim?
It's that magical time of year when the plows start going back on the truck. So we did that today. Section of snow. So it makes it snow.
That's always fun.
Going back to daylight savings time, we'll be back. Half the crew Monday, half the crew Friday, which is what's in the union contract, just to remind everybody that's coming up here shortly. To Adeline's point about the budget and increases in highway, just to let people know that there's a resolution tonight in the 400 line for repairs. And repairs alone, we've gone through the budget, and I've asked you to increase the budget again to pay for repairs of equipment. Is to all your attention, because we have to, no one wants to hear the word increase, but I can't repair equipment for the same price it did 2 years ago. Nothing is cheap. It goes with fuel, repairs, labor. People come in and plug their computers into our equipment to tell me what's wrong with the truck. Those are things that in the highway, the town board or myself doesn't have control over when it comes to cost. So I know we have a number in there for a budget for repairs again this year. I'm hoping that next year we won't have as many repairs, but the likelihood of myself going back to the town board again for a budget amendment to the budget from some line will probably occur again. Because we really have a good handle on what monthly costs are on many items. Tires right now are killing the budget. Suspension parts are killing my budget. Fuel pumps are killing my budget. So these are all things that none of us control, but yet all cost more.
And just for everybody's edification here, how far out are we on truck purchases?
We bought one last year in January. We'll see it hopefully in the fall of 24.
So 2 years.
Yeah.
A little short of 2 years on that for the turnaround to get it, the equipment that we have money for. Well, we're giving them money, but it just takes almost 2 years.
And then it's all forces repair work.
While you're waiting.
Waiting for that.
All right, thank you. Clerk,
I'll have something later.
something later on at the end?
Yep.
Okay. I was feeling you might say that. Anything from planning?
If I just could on behalf of the planner, I'm sorry, not from, but there's in her report, the planning board is requesting an extension of the 45-day comment period from the town board for the incentive zoning rezoning application. And so the planning board is hoping that you'll make a motion this evening, just extending their comment period to grant them an additional 45 days.
So they need an additional 45 days?
Well,
What's the price?
the planning board, I was having been at the planning board.
Yeah, can you click?
They wanted to have, for their information, public comment and your reaction so that they can tailor their suggestions and
Do that?
recommendations
Okay.
to your concerns.
Okay.
So that was unanimous on their part, and I said they were concerned about the 45-day limit in our town code for them to respond, and I said, no, you can ask for extension.
What kind of extension are you recommending?
45 days.
So an additional?
Yes.
Okay. And property? I should know the number by now, but what's our property?
It's 35.45.
3950?
Nobody.
Nobody can remember?
Hang on.
No, 3950 is,
Mary's.
RSM.
3950 is ours. 3907, okay. All right, so I will make a motion at this time so we can get it in the book, on the books. I haven't made my motion yet. To extend the comment period an additional 45 days for 3907 County Road 16, Canandaigua.
Second.
Do we have a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Carries. Okay, is that good for you? Does that work?
That's exactly what the planning board is
Okay.
looking for. Thank you.
All right, do you see Lindsay up there? I don't see Lindsay on HR and Parks. Town manager, anything additional?
The only thing, we touched on it briefly, in the report is the red line version of the water agreement, which we are planning, I believe, to bring back to the November town board meeting. So just thinking about that.
Did have one comment, and I figured I'd share this with I'll bring it up now since you introduced it into evidence. I had reached out to Supervisor Inglesby. One of the questions that I had on it was the fact that in the water agreement, the city has sole responsibility and sole authority for saying what improvements need to be done. So I suggest, and I asked Supervisor Inglesby from Farmington his thoughts on it to see, is this limiting us and putting us in a pigeonhole where if they say something's needed, we might not agree, or if there's things that we need that they say, no, we don't want it, so we don't support it. If it's unilateral, then it makes it difficult. His suggestion was maybe we might want to look at that, maybe tie it to a 5-year capital plan, or that we have a vote. If you're purchasing water, you have a say in what happens and how those decisions are made. So that's a suggestion.
That was brought up at our water meeting.
Okay.
With Bill Head and the city manager, had some very strong opinions about that, but, it's worth bringing up.
Yeah.
There might need to be another big meeting.
There'll have to be another one. Since I couldn't make the last one. Yeah, so look, could have brought it up when I was there. So we'll bring it up at the next one and make sure that that's out on the table, because I think it's something that we need just to protect ourselves. So we're not locked into anything. Right now, there's a good relationship, but just to make sure you're protected down the road.
One of the sections in there also dealt with extensions or, added. The way it was written made it sound to me like if we wanted to extend within the boundaries of the town, that was okay, but it's going beyond any of those, not just our town, but other towns they serve, so that would be legal if we wanted to.
Yes, that part.
Extend a water district or create a new one. within the boundaries. So, okay.
My main question was improvements to the facility that could be unilaterally decided on
Yeah.
or rejected.
It's still not clear to me how much the city is putting into the capital reserve. That the towns are being assessed. Well, in our case, it's $194,000 next year. That ramps up over time, but that's gonna be folded into the cost of water, so. But is that true with the city residents also, that any capital contribution is gonna be put into the cost of water for them, but I don't remember seeing numbers for the city year by year. Before we made that change to.
Before we made the change,
I think it did show an
it was in
amount.
there. Keep in mind, they don't have special districts like we do, so it's all just
It's all,
in their,
you know,
their general, so their tax rate will go up to reflect that overall, unless they can account for it in some other way. They don't have any special districts other than the state.
but there were capital.
There were costs.
They were contributing to the capital.
Year by year,
Yes.
were they, I don't remember, were they equivalent to ours? Or-
You were at those early ones. They were
They're,
comparable based on usage, I wanna say. They tried to make that very clear, that they're trying to keep it comparable with the other municipalities based on usage.
there you go, so I feel like that's kicking the can down the road, it's caught up to us.
Mhm.
Now we have to pay.
Well, yeah, but it wasn't us.
Right.
Aye.
All right,
All right.
all right. All right, I don't have anything to add in additional to my reports. Town board committees, finance.
Yeah, we had a finance meeting last week going over the agenda. Had several questions on it that were answered in that meeting. We did also create a finance meeting for November 9th, where we're going to be beginning our discussion of capital planning to address some of the major concerns for future planning, multi-year planning needs for the town, particularly focused especially on highway funding. And we gave our town manager some ideas of information we'd like provided before that meeting so that we can have as useful a meeting as possible on November 2nd. And the public is, as always, welcome to attend finance committee meetings. So.
Was it?
Ninth.
November 9th, excuse me, at 10 p.m. or 10 a.m. Not 10
10 p.m. Everybody can be there. All right, Terry, planning and public works.
Yeah, we had a meeting on Friday, October 6th. There are a couple of items that are resolutions in here dealing with plans from MRV for North Road and for this building here. But we'll probably discuss those when we get to the resolution. We also discussed the County Road 4, maybe have an opportunity to create a sewer district there with because of the work that's being done on the VA campus. It's still in the talking stage. The highway facility, once we get another quote from the company, we'll be looking at doing some work on the HVAC system, which is had a problem since the beginning, I guess, really.
Pretty much.
The software needs to be upgraded in order to have the system function properly, the way that it was originally designed. And we talked a little bit about capital building and equipment planning, which Edline just referred to, so those are kind of the highlights from that meeting. So. That's it.
Okay, thank you. Ordinance, Mr. Casey?
Yeah, a couple of things that we are currently undertaking. One is we're reviewing the current short-term rental ordinance, tweaking that now in light of some new developments and the operation of the ordinance as it currently is. And we also are starting conversations on accessory dwelling units, whether they should be allowed on properties or not. And I would encourage the public to come join us and participate in those conversations.
So John, since I couldn't make the last one, are those ADUs, was the discussion whole town, any specific area?
Haven't gotten even to the point where we are narrowing that down.
Okay.
We asked Sarah to give us some new information, and she looks like she responded today and gave us a lot to chew on, so. Yeah, it's in the discussion stages right now. No decisions have been made at all.
Okay, thank you.
Sarah, if I can mention,
please.
as the vice chair of the ordinance committee, Sarah did also find that there was a minimum house size in our town code, which has been
Yeah.
a question for a number of years. I believe it was 1,100, was it?
It's
1,100 square feet. And that was also another question we had in relation to affordable housing. If 1,100 square feet makes sense as a minimum square footage allowance in the town of Kennedy.
Thank you.
Is the board gonna look at that size? Is that on is that on your to-do list
In ordinance,
for ordinance?
it has been, it
Yeah, I
kind of
can
came up.
remember. We modified that rule or talk about?
No, we had given up on it before because we were told that there wasn't a minimum housing, so I think it needs to be reassessed again.
Yeah,
we
okay,
can look at that.
excellent, thank you. All right, economic development?
No report.
All right, we do have some of our committee representatives here. The next one is Parks and Recreation.
Yeah, Mark McNeil sent a report and he's apologized that he was unable to make it, but he says that MRB is to prepare a phasing plan to share the town with the town board for proposed improvements at Ononda. They will also include suggestions for the addition of accessible restrooms to the previous concept plan shared with the town board. Lindsay shared information on the national fitness campaign and the idea of a fitness court for possible placement at a town park. She has shared an internet link with the committee that provides more information. Discuss usage and condition of volleyball courts at both Ananda and Pierce, and we'll revisit a future meeting to make recommendations for maintenance and upkeep. Repair work continues in the bathrooms at outhouse. All other areas of the park impacted by the flood are all back in use. Lindsay is planning to meet with the YMCA staff to review and evaluate the summer rec program and will share feedback with the committee. Parks and Rec Committee will again host a Cabinet Ononda Halloween event and will decorate and hand out treats similar to last year. The next meeting is scheduled for October 25th, 6 p.m. at Town Hall. Submitted by Mark McNeil.
All right, thank you very much.
May I ask a question?
Yeah.
Did they indicate what a fitness court was?
I don't know.
Okay.
So
I'm assuming one of those things that you kind of run around and.
it's something that had been sent, and I think it's one of the things where it's a partnership with Excelis, and I think they target municipalities and schools, and it's a grant funded program, and it's similar to what you see at Outhouse Park right now, where you have the different fitness stations, but it's more condensed. And the theory is you can get a full body workout within a small area. It's all body weight related. So it's like a little fitness course within an area, small little
So
area.
that's his court, right? Fitness
Court.
C-O-U-R-T.
So small area, course, potato.
All right, well,
So
at any rate.
in
And I think it's a
small
more
area,
condensed thing
it's
than a
condensed.
trail.
And right.
All right, well, we'd love more information. Let's put it that way.
I'll pass that on. Is there any update on the,
You cannot go there and just
This
sit.
is not fitness.
You cannot touch them and get benefit through osmosis. Yeah, all those things you can't.
What if you're wearing like workout?
If you're wearing workout clothes, it helps a little bit.
I have a question. Was it late winter or early spring this year, we approved
sign? That was my
Sign.
question too. We haven't,
whatever.
where are we on that?
It's good. I was actually just asked Lindsay about that last week, and it's, I believe, supposed to be coming in within the next week or two. It just hasn't been delivered yet.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It's
Oh.
been cited though. The site's
Yeah, I
decided.
think, did she back you over
Yes.
that? Yeah, with the spot down there, near, somewhere near that.
Right.
Building 300.
Can I also I don't know if we officially addressed it in the town meeting yet, but we have a lovely cabin sitting on our property that there have been questions about. Could you just explain what the cabin is?
So, just that
Just so you guys know, I can get enough, because I've been told by many residents that that corner over there is like a dead zone, and the mic just doesn't pick it up if I say something from over there. So, right, so the cabin out front, and special thanks to the Special Events Committee and Oksana for helping to put together a banner and everything. And I think the banner says relocating to Ononda soon or something or other like that, right? Am I close? Anyway, and so the cabin is sitting out there. We have had a couple of people stop in, wanted to know if they could buy it from us. So, but right. So, but it's really exciting. It was a budgeted item, I believe, in 22 and 23 both. And so depending on the outcome of the final plan for Ononda, I believe there are 6 of those modern style cabins to be placed. Correct me if I'm wrong, somebody, but so that's that goes in there, you know, and some of that's going to have to be phased in. And that's the conversation that I'm looking to on November 9th for identifying those capital type of projects and plans. And then we have to dig into the weeds on the specifics of each of them. But right now we're still at the 30,000 foot level to decide which of those plans are the priority and where the money's coming from.
So what you're saying is that cabins come quicker than trucks.
Yes. Yes.
Well,
Thank you.
Can't follow it.
and those were grown from saplings too. We ordered them and they grew the trees.
They grew the
Built-
trees.
And they made the cabin.
Thank you.
All right, special events. Oksana, we have a big event coming up.
Huge event. Okay, Saturday, October 28th from 2 to 5. We are having our Halloween at Ononda, which is our yearly Halloween event. And last year we had over 1,200 people attend. And I think we may, if it's beautiful weather like it was last year, we may have even more. So I was just thinking, since you reduced the fireworks budget, the special events would really like to have a little bit more money in the budget, because we do 2 events. We do the 4th of July, and we always have a beautiful float, and then we do Halloween at Ononda. So if you could consider that. Okay, so this year we have the Bristol Mountain Aerial Adventure, the Cheshire Volunteer Fire Department, and they are bringing their firehouse, which the kids can put out the fire with a hose. The Canandaigua Emergency Ambulance, they actually requested to be there. Canandaigua Rotary, Canandaigua Kiwanis, Wood Library Arts and Crafts, and Wood Library Mary Ferris, her storytelling, which is really fantastic. The Cheshire Community Action Team, their haunted house, which also is a lot of fun. It's not very scary because the kids are little. 4-H Petting Zoo, Parks and Recreation will be there. And Reliant Credit Union, our first bank. So, and then we are going to have a 50s sock hop in Crouch with 50s music. And so Terry, oh, I know you won't be here, you said, but anybody else that wants to come and hop around.
Older people like them.
Okay, so this is a free family event and everyone is invited from the community. It's not just for townspeople. And we serve free refreshments at Gorham. And the park staff they were incredible last year, helping us. And so I already sent them all the tasks today, so they will know what needs to be done. So I'm still looking for 3 volunteers, Jared, Dave, and Adeline.
Sounds like Take 2 steps forward, is that what you're saying?
What?
Take 2 steps forward?
Yeah. So if you could let me know if you are able to volunteer on that day.
Are you talking Friday or Saturday?
I'm talking about, well, Friday, we need people.
Right.
But Saturday, we need upland parking attendance.
So I have an update for you.
What?
I'm helping the Rotary Club at Ononda that day, so I'll be there for that. But did you hear back from the Interact Club?
Yes,
They said they were.
they have
had about-
20,
Yeah, about.
they have 20
15 kids that
volunteers.
Volunteered to help with
Right.
parking.
Awesome.
So-
And I already have tasks for them. So, but they can't do parking. I mean, they're just high school kids. And that would,
I think they were expecting to do
Yeah.
parking in the meeting that I went to, it's just so you know, so.
yeah. So anyway,
They've done parking
You gotta
at
learn somehow.
movie and concert both. Interact has really been very helpful. And they do a great job. With the
Who
orange-
does?
The Interact Club.
Oh, yeah.
They put the orange vests on them, get them lights and everything.
Oh, they
do
do?
a fantastic job, yes.
Oh, I've never
Yes,
heard that they were anywhere.
yeah, they've done both the concert and the movie night
Oh,
for the town.
okay. Well, we have 20 of them, so I'll be getting their names so I can assign tasks to them.
Lindsay has vests and everything for them so that they'll be
Well, we have-
kind of safe.
We have vests also.
Good.
Jim Fletcher, he has his tasks also. Yeah, he's not too happy today because of 40 straw bales. Anyway, anybody have any questions about anything?
I have a comment. I would just like to say, Oksana, thank you very much. And thank you to the Special Events Committee. I mean, that is so nice of you to organize this and put it together. And thank you very much. And
Yeah, there's 5 of us. There's only 5 of us on the committee and we do a fantastic job.
you do. And
Yeah.
I just thank you.
Yeah.
Out of my heart. That's just.
Well, it's all community service and to showcase the town. That's mainly the big thing, is to showcase what we can do. Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you very much. So we're going from special events to cemetery committee. Karen, do you have anything? I mean, you gotta pivot somehow, might as well just go.
Embrace it.
Yeah, just embrace the pivot.
Well, good evening. First, I'd like to thank this board for proposed resolution 2023 of 258 on this evening's agenda, supporting Wreaths Across America. I would also like to ask it be amended. We have discovered 2 additional veterans in the Hun Cemetery, so please consider amending the number 12 to 14 in the 4th whereas. The cemetery committee has been very active. Thanks to the Parks Department, a road frontage fence was erected at the Sand Hill Cemetery. Our current efforts are focused on National Wreaths Across America Day, December 16, 2023. We have 4 individuals teaming up to make it a great success in the town. They are Donna West, who is present with me this evening, Judy York, Betty McMahon, and myself. We are participating in 2 cemeteries this year, Hun and Academy. We have handed out information to each town board member tonight, and we encourage everyone to go to the website to learn about this mission. The mission is a simple gesture of thanks to remember the fallen, to honor those currently serving, and most importantly, teach the next generation about the sacrifices made for our freedom. Anyone interested in Wreaths Across America should go to www.wreathsacrossamerica.org. We would also encourage you to consider sponsoring a wreath for one of our veterans. At this date, we have 45 out of 60 wreaths sponsored. That's a pretty amazing number already. The last day to sponsor a wreath online for this year is November 28th before 12 o'clock midnight. It is fitting at this time to thank the Canandaigua Elks, the Canandaigua Town Democrats, and the Canandaigua Town Republicans for their generous large donations to purchase wreaths. Thanks again, and we hope to see you at one of the ceremonies. Any questions?
I have a question.
Yes.
So first of all, thank you so much for doing this. It's long overdue and I'm really appreciative of all the work you and I know our town historian has also put into this.
Yeah.
So I'm the daughter of a veteran who's unfortunately not buried in either of these cemeteries. How can you get wreaths at veteran graves that are not in a cemetery sponsored by a town like this?
The cemeteries have to be sponsored through the program.
Through the town or through the?
There's 3,800 cemeteries across the country, all different sponsors.
So that would be on the website, right? If
If
what
the
cemeteries would be
cemetery-
sponsored, right?
And Wood is not participating
Right.
this year.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you.
The wreath
17.
is $17 and Karen, it says to contact you I'm contacting you and I would like to donate 10 wreaths, please.
Oh.
That just
I'll
what-
show you how to do it.
It's Wreaths Across America, right? You go online and do it, right?
We put the two different websites if you'd like to contribute to HUN. There's a special website for HUN and a special one for Academy, and they're both listed in your letters that we gave you.
Perfect.
There's also a QR code that will bring you right to this.
Can I make it easy? Because I'm an old kind of guy that doesn't understand all that high-tech stuff. Can I just give one of you a check? And who would I make it up to?
No, you have to use the QR code.
It's better if you use the QR code.
Oh, you.
Uh-oh. Have one of your,
It's
magic.
We can talk to you later.
have one of your kids do it.
I'll figure it out for you.
Hey Karen,
You just go on the
if you've got any
website,
left,
easy, I did a lot.
Yeah, you can go to the
at the
website.
end, MRB and I'll split the remaining. Especially now that John picked up.
All right, thank you very
I'll
much.
just say something too
Mhm.
about that. If we do receive more wreath donations than what we have allotted for each of the, for the cemeteries, we can bank those for next year.
Oh,
And
excellent.
or we
For the
can
next 5
donate
years,
them
then
to
we'll take
another
care of it.
cemetery
Didn't say
that may
what
not have met.
percentage
the
our
goal.
split is.
Excellent.
Is your
So we
plan
keep
to-
it,
1%.
Is your plan to add additional cemeteries for the town next year?
I think
Perfect,
so.
yeah, I think so too, yeah.
so we
It's
can
our
keep her,
first year.
yes, awesome. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. I don't
You're on
think we
project
have-
teams.
I know, but I don't see any representatives. We do have the history team represented, but I don't think Donna wants to speak. She'd yell at me if I asked her to speak for the history team. And I don't want to get yelled at. Okay, on to resolutions and motions. Oh, thank you. I jumped the page a little bit. We have another privilege of the floor. Is there anyone who would like to be heard at this time? Oh. I'll let you guys decide who gets to go first.
You're right next to each other.
Jared, I handed over the flag, the Newtown flag that we had made for the 4th of July parade. And I was wondering if you or somebody is going to place it someplace at Town Hall?
Yes.
Okay,
We're trying to figure out a spot where it can be located and where it can be observed and where we have open wall space
okay.
to put it. Yes.
Could we borrow it for the Halloween at Onanda to put it?
Do you want it back now?
I do want it back.
Yes,
Okay, so if you could give it to Lindsay,
definitely.
I would appreciate it. Because we'd like to have it at Gorham, where all the refreshments are
Okay.
going to be. And we received emails, I think all of you did, about the newsletter. Is this something that we can inform the public or not?
There's gonna be a newsletter.
Yeah, there's
Yeah, I
going
think
to,
the first date is Friday, right? The
Yes.
Abbreviated
and
one.
Kim Burkhardt is
Right.
going to be setting that up.
Right.
So that's a big deal. So,
It's, if you want it to get people to get their hopes up and be surprised.
oh,
But I
Okay.
think Kim will follow through, I know 100%.
yeah, she
So
will.
we'll be out on Friday, so that's something that it can be out there.
Okay. All right, that's all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Jody.
Go ahead, Jody.
Jody Kaufman, 5140 Sage Terrace. Kathy Manicott comes in and makes a claim about something that happened years ago. And I don't understand how that has anything to do with the budget hearing and the motion that was on the floor at the time, and why you delayed this even further to a fifth budget hearing. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, anybody else? Any online?
There's a question in the chat that says if we have additional questions on the budget, should we bring them up now or can we send questions in to be addressed? It looks like it was typed a minute ago, but I'm not 100% sure. So
Yeah, additional questions, and I think that's Marion. Additional questions can be sent in and they will be addressed at the next meeting. And we can bring them up, because I know that Adeline did a great job going through the questions and asking questions that people had sent in. So yeah, any other questions, they'll be addressed and they'll be brought up at that time. At the next meeting for that. Anybody else? Okay. All right, resolutions and motions. Resolution number 2023-248, acceptance of the monthly financial reports.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Carries. Resolution 249, budget transfer authorization.
So moved.
Second.
It's moved and seconded. Any discussion?
Jim, I think you brought this up a little bit earlier. We had asked in the finance committee meeting what specifically this was for. It sounds like it's for your repair costs
Yeah.
essentially, so,
There's no, this like per se detail of each dollar,
yeah,
tires, repairs.
Repairs.
okay, great, thank you.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Carries. Resolution 250, budget transfer authorization.
I'd like to amend this resolution. During the budget committee, it came up that there were a couple of numbers transposed. If you look in the section where it says decrease and increase, under increase, it indicates SW, line number SW 500-8340.424. That needs to be 8310.424. So I'd like to move to amend the resolution as stated.
Significant, Mr. Nadler, to amend that, or is that clerical?
No, that's clear.
Okay. All right, any further discussion on the resolution as amended? Did we have a first and a second? We had a first.
I don't know if you got a
I don't think
second.
we did. First and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Carries. Resolution 251, approval of discontinuing Infotech credit card payment contractor for park and recreation transactions and approving Firefly TSYS for park reservations through Firefly.
Second.
Any discussion?
Did we want, we talked about this a little bit in finance. I don't know if either of our town clerks present want to just describe anything further on this, but it looked like it was actually potentially going down the cost a little bit. so-
Yeah, so the cost per reservation is going to be $3.50, which will be passed on to anyone making a reservation. Where previously, if somebody was using a credit card, it was a $5 fee plus the 5-cent fee plus the cost of the processing fee of the credit card. So the costs are reducing for the people that are using the system. So what's happening is Firefly has bought out Astra, which is our current park reservation program, and we'll have more information in the November newsletter.
Great, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Okay, any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries. Resolution 2023-252. I'd like to make a motion to table that resolution indefinitely. I think that's what we decided.
Yes, we did.
Okay. Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, resolution's tabled. Okay, resolution 253, I assume there will be, I have some comments once this is open. So resolution 253, accepting the proposal from MRB Group for professional services for town hall renovations and authorization for the town manager to execute agreement. So moved.
Want to put a budget line in there?
We had a lot of other
We need it moved and
questions.
seconded before we have the discussion on it.
Second.
All right, so moved and seconded. I do have some discussion and yes, there's a reason why there is no budget line in there. Is because this is one of the things that we need to discuss. We have multiple projects. Multiple capital projects that we need to look at, multiple capital projects for funding. That's why we have the meeting on the 9th, is to address these items. So. As the
Supervisor.
Go ahead, Mr. Casey.
If I remember correctly, Doug said at our finance committee meeting that you were gonna review this with MRB because the scope of the project might be smaller than they anticipated with this quote.
That is correct. I didn't have that note down, but you are correct.
Oh, thank you, Councilmember Casey. So in terms of resolution 252, we did have a discussion at the, or I'm sorry, 253. We had a discussion at the Finance Committee meeting about that in terms of the scope and those sorts of things. And I had a conversation with Greg Hotelian on Friday, and then he is here to help answer questions. I think that the nuts and bolts of it was, I believe that the proposal stands. Their cost have actually exceeded the proposal that they have already given us to date. So we still do have some, I think, discussions and conversations, as Supervisor Simpson was alluding to, relative to the capital planning, but the cost is that. And if I just could real quick, and I know you've already tabled the resolution indefinitely, but resolution 252, it was also my understanding during the Finance Committee meeting that you were asking for a breakdown, how much of that was actually going to be complete streets versus how much road construction. And so I thought we were going to discuss that and take action on that.
Well, we can talk about it in either spot. so
What
that one or the
resolution
next
number,
one.
Doug?
The previous one, 252.
252. I don't see it 252.
It's the page before,
Say that again?
the one we just did, the page before.
The North Road reconstruction.
51, isn't it?
It's 252.
No,
251
52.
was Firefly, and 250 was the budget transfer authorization. 252.
Yeah.
Page 5 of 10, John.
Page 5 of 10.
If I could, I think one of the things that was a little bit confusing is resolution 252 and 254 are related. And I think we had talked about if we do table 252, then we would table 254. I think it was just confusing because they're broken
I think
apart.
we-
so-
Yeah, we flipped. I
Yeah.
had those flipped in my head.
That's okay, but I since we're here, right, and
Yeah.
specifically with Greg being here, I think you might want to discuss that one a little bit more. But
So-
253, the cost relative to your question, Councilmember Casey, the cost really is the 63.5.
Thank you.
So back to 253 that we're on right now, though. Greg, I don't do a lot of construction myself, so it's not necessarily something that I'm terribly knowledgeable about. But this is essentially talking about an interior redesign of the town hall and the project costs for that. And I'm very confused by what is this, $60,000 for that cost? It's $63,500. I just don't.
Yes.
I would anticipate that the building cost of this would probably be like, I don't know, 150,000, what I would assume from living in the world. And it's hard for me to understand that, construction documents are $28,000 and contract administration is $30,000. I'd like to have a better explanation of that from MRB.
Yeah, not a problem. So,
Go to the mic.
oh, sorry.
Be quiet.
You could pull it right out of there too.
All right, so, first and foremost, you're renovating about 2,500 square feet. The architects estimate that to be somewhere between $300,000 to $350,000 worth of work.
Okay.
Because you're gonna have multiple trades involved. It's not, everyone can kind of say, oh, it's a rental, we're just moving some walls. How hard is that? That's not the hard part. The hard part is, well, it's not just the hard part, but there's other trades that have to also move along with that. Then the other factors, you're going to pay prevailing wage. So anytime prevailing wages involved relative to private contracts, it does cost quite a bit more. I think Jim knows that pretty well as well. I think based off of that and the percentages that are there, the fees that we have there, I think are pretty much in line with that project. They might be a touch high, but that's probably because the scope of the overall project is not the scope, but the size of the project is technically kind of small. So when we get into these smaller projects that involve multiple trades, because I had to bring in a sub consultant to help do the electrical and HVAC redesigns for those spaces as well. So there's just a lot of people that are involved. When there's that many people, when there's that many cooks in the kitchen, so to speak, things get kind of expensive. There isn't really a way to kind of streamline this type of work. So, and what's in there for construction admin, that's really just there for, assuming this is going to take maybe about 3 months, maybe a little bit more than 3 months. So, a construction admin project, or for a project that has multiple trades that are involved, that burn rate will be somewhere around that, 9,000 to 11,000 range. So there was nothing there that to me jumped out. I said there was a red flag.
But it's 30,000 for the contract administration. Is that what you're referring to as?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So it's, you're basically running that 3 month window or 3 to 4 month window.
So you say that's usually 9,000 a month?
Yeah, a lot of times construction admin runs around that between 9,500 to 12,500. There's a lot of, on the front end of those jobs, there's a lot of shops that have to get approved. There's a lot of interior finish work as well. So it's a lot of, there's just a lot of detailing.
With public jobs, you're not producing the same kind of drawings, architectural drawings, as you would to build a house. They have to meet a certain spec, they have to be publicly bid, and they have to be approved by the, licensed professional, and all pay apps have to be approved. I'm always shocked at how much that does cost, but it's not like the town can do that stuff itself unless we have an engineer and construction management wing on staff.
So what does prevailing wage add to it? Just percentage wise?
It's probably on labor, it's probably at least 25 to 30%.
So just, we can It's getting us about 30% on that. Okay.
Yeah, just on that piece alone. I mean, then just factor in, you know, your COVID inflation on everything
Yeah.
else. So it's-
And your
everything else
size,
is-
there's some costs that are costs no matter what.
Mhm.
And they're gonna be there no matter what, I guess. You know, whether it's a room like this or a whole thing, you're still driving out to the site, you're still the trips, and there's some things that are just there inherent.
And as Doug was basically kind of alluding to, because he brought up to me, he said, you know, is there a way to kind of skinny that up? And I just told him, I was like, I'm already into it for more than what I have into it. So, you know, I already cut off a pound of flesh. I guess I could try to cut off 2, but I don't think that's necessarily fair.
Thank you, Greg.
You want to talk about the road work?
Yeah, let's go to that one. And this refers to 254 and 252, which are, and I apologize for the mistake on that one. They seem redundant, but one was the discussion and one was actually increasing lines to pay for it. So the question is, how much of that would be complete streets and how much would it be?
Highway.
All right, so I'll tell you exactly what I told Doug. That's a tangled plate of spaghetti. It's not really easy to just look at that and say, just chop it and say that, you know, these features are only there for complete streets, and then this stuff is just regular highway work. Originally, when we wrote that proposal, we were really just gonna look at one side of the road and adding a sidewalk, leaving the other side of the road. But when we got into the design and the layout, we needed to make modifications on the other side of the road to actually adjust the road to make the edge of the sidewalk actually catch at the driveways and people's yards. So we weren't going to their garage to fix it. With that said, you know, to me, the whole job is also, it's complete streets and highway work, because you're going to basically end up with a brand new road. But it'll be a brand new road that will also have a multi-use trail alongside of it. So, you know, without a tremendous amount of trying to get into the weeds to figure out exactly where each nickel goes, you know, I'm just looking at the plans, and, you know, it's not a 50-50 chop. So, you know, I would think like a 60-40 would probably be fair. But even then, you know,
Leaning in which direction?
it's probably 60%, like, because the bulk of it is the main road. And then, so I would say inside the curbs is the road and the drainage work that has to happen. So I would say that's 60, and then the other stuff is about 40%.
If I could just curious, like, why are we trying to separate a road?
Just two different capital projects.
But to that point, actually, exactly what Jim is getting ready to say. I know exactly what you're getting ready to say. I can read your mind. So the conversation that Greg and I had on Friday, while Jim was at his conference, was that maybe maybe this is part of the confusion. We need to create a new capital project specifically for North Road, and then we could allocate 60 from the one capital project and 40 from the other to fund it, to create the budget for it. Because at the end of the day, right? I mean, you and I talked about that. It's going to be a capital project that's going to span multiple years anyway. And so maybe instead of trying to run it specifically through those two capital projects that we've already created, we just create a new capital project specifically for that project. And then we can do a budget transfer from each of those funds over to pay for it, right?
That makes sense. Yeah, because at the end of the day, it's.
So what you're gonna say,
You're
Jim,
just
you're
trying to
right.
figure out
what
it just
pocket
sounds
you're
like
pulling
we're
money
making
out of,
more work for
right?
ourselves, trying to track two different budget
Yeah.
lines, when we're trying to just do the same thing, complete street, we're completely rebuilding the street to do pedestrians and traffic and bicycles. I don't understand why these two different budget lines at all. Unless there was a reason you got a grant for some reason, I could see that, but I don't agree with trying to come up with a 70-30 clause, and then we're tracking it separately. You're approving the road for everybody's use. It's just not.
You're approving a complete street.
Yeah, I mean, I would take out House Road next then. So you have a road, but you want to make a complete street. You want two different budget lines and try to track all that through everything?
So
I personally don't. It just makes more of a headache for installing who did what when, the people upstairs tracking it, say, no, Jim, wrong budget line, I gotta do a budget amendment, but we're just improving the road for everybody. And the money is coming from the same place, it's not like we got two different pots of money.
I think making a separate capital project for North Road and eventually Outhouse Road makes sense. My thought process behind that too was just simply that, you know, when we designate the net money, like for example, this year, when we funded both those capital projects and put 500,000 into Complete Streets and $1 million into highway, I'm thinking in my head, okay, my highway money is going towards repairing and resurfacing and rebuilding our roads. And my Complete Streets money is going towards ensuring that we have safe sidewalks and multimodal transportation for people. This does both. So that's it's a wonderful plus. So I think it should be funded from both of those sources, not just one or the other.
It could, I mean, the board can take whatever they want in the capital project, can take from the highway and from public, for Complete Streets, put it into its own capital.
That's what. So let's do that.
Okay, I mean, that's just as simple as that.
Yeah, that's what we're just saying.
Instead of us doing two different lines.
Yeah, I think.
I think that's what we're getting at.
I think we all agree without understanding that we're agreeing here.
Yeah, I think that's what it is. North Road capital projects.
Yeah,
Okay.
and you know, North Road, like, Jim and I have talked, and we talked about the public works, you know, it's about a mile worth of work. And highway work right now is averaging around $2.5 million a mile. So this is a little, yeah, we've had some snippets. I mean, when I started, you know, back in the late 90s, it seems like a long time ago now. Anyways, I mean, when I was first introduced, we used to always talk about $1 million a mile was kind of like always the rule of thumb, but like, you know, since then, you know, everything's kind of increased. And this is a very special type of construction. So, I mean, there's a solid chance this could be more like a $3 million project for construction costs. So what I have in here basically takes us through bidding, construction, admin and observation. I've estimated those based off a 6-month window. We don't need to authorize those tonight. We can just authorize up to bidding. I'd actually almost prefer that, just because I'd like to be able to talk with contractors and understand exactly what they see as a construction window. Because if this turns out to be an 8-month project, then the numbers I'm giving you are all wrong. So I think it's important to maybe move this along and get to a point where we can actually have some intelligent conversations with some contractors to get a better idea of construction length. Because it's kind of a big project. There's a lot of parts and pieces that all have to kind of go together. It's incredibly difficult from the principle that you know, you're going to take one lane down, and then you've got to maintain access to everybody's driveway. So that means everybody's driveway is going to get a huge gravel ramp to get over to the other side of the road. So it's going to be challenging.
So what do you need from us tonight to move forward with this?
I mean, it's fine. I would authorize this, but I mean, we can just have Doug initial the phases that are actually authorized, even though you've earmarked it. And then, like I said, I'm just letting you guys know, we might have to revisit this when we get closer.
All right.
I mentioned to both Jim and Doug, I believe, I feel like, and I don't know if this will qualify for it, but the TAP CMAQ CRP grant seems to be very related to this project.
It is. The problem is we are not gonna, we haven't done DEPA, we haven't done Seeker, we haven't done SHPO, we haven't done any of that. And all this is due by, I think, January
was when the grant was due.
It's just we're not prepared to submit because we don't even have enough stuff ready to submit. We could submit, we would probably fail to submit because we don't have enough information ready to go. We're not at the point like we did with Second Point where we knew ahead of time that we needed to get MRB to get a number of documents together to submit for Bridge New York grant. So it was a solid application. Versus you got roughly 90 days and the holidays are coming to try and get something in. I think it'd be a waste of the town's money to hire MRB with a proposal to submit a weak application because we don't have multiple things done in time for it to look strong.
So two things on that point, so I can piggyback on what Jim was saying. first and foremost, that program, I think, has allotted 165 million. What are we talking about? This, it's like 12 projects. It's really not going to go very far. So, I think that's a problem for that particular program. So it's going to probably be very highly competitive. To what Jim is saying is, like, you're going to have to put in a very competitive application, which means you're going to have to dot all the I's, cross all the T's. We got that Bridge NY grant, I think in large part because of the study that we did. I got compliments on the study from the state, that report that I put together. It was very detailed and easy for someone to walk through. So we don't have anything like that for North Road. So yeah, I think Jim might be right. It might be a little short, but I'm fine with going back and talking with my grants group and, gauge what they really think we can do. And then I can always get back to you guys in the next couple of days.
I think it'd be worth finding out if they said, you know what? Maybe.
Well, I usually just look at Lori's eyes when they go, then I'm like,
Or
okay,
if
never
you
mind,
can
Lori.
just
I'll leave you alone.
read the room and
Yeah.
you'll know based on reading the room what you think.
The airline has a great point of trying to get the money, that's not, the point is just, we're just behind the eight ball right now, they have a strong application right now. So,
It just seemed to fit it in so many
It
ways,
does.
including safe paths to schools. I mean, it really seemed like a perfect fit. So
you're right, it does.
I'm not sure if that program is a one-off or if it's gonna be, an annual program or how that's gonna go, but I mean.
Trying to make
obvious-
sense of New
obviously-
York State, Greg, that
Right,
can't be
yeah, I know,
done.
but I mean, but if, say we move through the design and everything, we get to a really good point, maybe we're in time for the next funding cycle. I have no idea. It's a brand new grant, so I don't know. I'd have to, again, I have to see what Lori would.
It all
have
depends
to
what
offer.
if
They
they give it
also-
a 50% chance, but it's a chunk of money, then probably it's a no. But if it's.
Those-
they're
Well,
like
at
80%,
165 million, as,
Yeah.
and as a town and not a county agency, again, those grants always seem to favor counties.
I think you listen to somebody that's experienced in this area rather than taking a shot in the dark.
Yeah, and he said he was gonna go,
Counsel, I agree with you.
and he said he was gonna go back and ask, so I think that's
Yeah.
what's worth doing. It's worth an ask.
Absolutely.
And read the room.
All right.
Read
Thank
the
you,
room and
Greg.
see what she says. Thank you. With that. So then are we taking action on 254 to transfer the money? Because we're gonna transfer it to the
This
complete streets.
currently indicates, it's all complete street.
Right.
It's decreasing complete streets completely, so.
So let's,
I might be wrong, first off, president, but I think right now you have a motion and a second on 253.
That's correct, yes.
okay, jumped ahead. All right, I jumped ahead. I went to four, not three.
So what
Okay,
are we
so
doing
we
with
have a motion and a
253?
second, so basically we're in it what we're in it for the town hall, so we need a motion to pay that bill.
We still haven't indicated where it would come from, what line.
Mm-hmm.
Might suggest that we create a capital project again for this one as well, track this. We can always move the 63,000 from unassigned fund balance and just talk in here for a second with you. This is why, and actually the conversation we just had, sorry, the people on Zoom, on the microphone.
To be honest, the exact conversation that you just had, and I also know some about grants, is exactly why November 9th is so important, to start talking about the planning and what are your priority projects, and then getting into the weeds. Every single time we've gotten a grant in the last 10 years, or especially some of the big ones, it's when we've had a plan ahead of time and then we go after the grant specifically to do that, right? So we're a little bit kind of in this particular case with the town hall improvements, we're a little bit behind the eight ball with this. We've talked about there being a need for it. We need to identify what the priority is, obviously specifically with this. So I think, you're realistically, I think what you heard tonight is this is a $300,000+ project. we might as well create a capital project. We can pay for this portion through the capital project. And then we have to make a decision whether or not we're ready to move forward with the $300,000 or $400,000 expense, or how we might pay for that. And if that rolls into a bond or whatever the case.
I would prefer, instead of paying for this from the general fund unassigned, I'd prefer that we pay for it from AA 232, which is the campus repair reserve fund.
So we can't pay for it directly from a reserve fund, but we would
45-day
pay
waiting period.
the capital project. So we'd create the capital project, and the funding source could be the reserve fund after the permissive referendum expires.
Yeah.
Perfect.
You know, if that's how you're gonna do it, because I'm basically ready to go to bid.
So then with 253, from what we just said, since we don't have a line to transfer money, 253 should be tabled.
Yeah,
And
we can vote on it with general fund unassigned if you want to do it that way.
Is that what you're suggesting, table?
No, you could go ahead and approve it. I don't know the capital project number tonight. You can
No,
direct me. as
we don't
part
have
of
that.
To create a capital project specifically for that and that $63,000 expense. The money
So
can
that's-
come, we'll have to do a resolution at the November meeting. The money could
Right.
come from the reserve fund.
because we were gonna pay it from the from the reserve fund to a capital project. We don't have the capital project yet to pay it.
Yeah.
So we could approve it.
You could approve it with that being contingency, that you do that.
Yes, we could
We've
approve it
done
with
it
general
before.
fund unassigned.
The capital project essentially would be negative for right. There's plenty of capital projects that we budget. And then we would pass a resolution to the November meeting, which realistically wouldn't go into effect until just before Christmas. That would be able to fund the new money over to it.
It seems backwards, but I will not argue it. Huh?
Either way you want to do it.
Okay, so,
Get it done.
so to, motion to amend this resolution to take it from the, you scared it out of me, Terry. You say it. Scared it out of me.
General fund unassigned?
General fund unassigned.
Are you opening? the
So
motion?
I'm gonna make it, well, we have a first and a second on the table. So now we have to come back, so we'll pull our first and second, because we have to make a motion to amend the resolution anyway.
You just made a motion.
We just made the motion, so we'll say Terry made the motion, I seconded it.
Could I hear that motion again, please?
To take the $63,500 and fund that from the capital,
The general
the general fund unassigned
unassigned.
balance.
Just for clarification, what we're creating the capital project.
We will create a
That's-
capital project, and that's,
Separate resolution.
I have a couple motions to make for that I was gonna try to do all at once, but that's fine like this. That's why I got all thrown off. So everybody okay with that?
To
Okay.
fund the 63,500 from the capital fund unassigned.
Yes.
Okay.
All in favor?
The general
Opposed?
fund.
Carries. All
Okay,
right,
now you doing a motion now to create those two capital projects?
with that, I'd like to entertain a motion to create two capital projects, one for,
You're gonna vote on the motion. You just voted on. the
We just-
amendment. You're gonna vote on the motion as amended.
all right. So can I get a motion?
You already have a motion.
Yes.
We have the motion, we already made the amendment. I'm all off on that tonight, so all in favor of the amendment
The amended motion.
the motion is amended, or the amendment is,
The
all in
motion is
favor?
amended. Aye.
aye, opposed?
Clerks look like they're gonna.
Poor
Carries.
things.
They're fine. Heather's awesome back there.
Isn't there a simpler way of doing this?
Yes.
I think there's a much simpler way to
There's-
just,
Because it's very confusing as to what's
Mhm.
being conveyed.
I agree.
but there would have been. Okay, so the next thing I'd
So what
like,
did you just vote on, the original motion?
The
We
original,
amended-
Voted on 253 with general fund unassigned balance inserted where there's
Okay.
4 pound signs.
Gotcha, thank you.
okay,
Yep, thank you.
to fund a capital project that will be there and hopefully soon.
Next.
Now, I'd like to entertain a motion to create a capital two capital projects. One for the town hall renovations and another one for the North Road project.
Seconded.
Okay. Yes.
Before you make that motion, it dawns on me that you may want that written down by town staff.
Okay.
and Presented you, so when you look at a capital.
So let's do
project,
this
there's a
then.
piece of paper.
Let's do this then.
Director, town
We'll make
manager.
a motion to direct the town manager to create two capital projects, one for the town hall and one for the North Road.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And I'd also like to make a motion in keeping with our meeting on the 9th that, and we've alluded to this, but just to make it more formal, that we direct the town manager to identify potential priority projects for the town board, which could include roads, buildings, park, technology, capital improvements, vital capital improvements, to present to the town board for consideration and discussion at our meeting on the 9th. Okay, any discussion or any questions on what I threw out there?
I have a question on the capital projects resolution.
All right.
Did we just throw that on our special meeting on October 23rd as well to help speed up the process for you?
Mhm.
Okay.
Okay, so all in favor of that motion?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, carries. All right, we would have gotten there. We would have gotten there eventually.
So 252, what? We had originally tabled it indefinitely.
Mhm.
Then we had this discussion with Greg.
Well,
Are we?
Still is.
it's still there, but then we're gonna change the payment, the funding lines will be changed because we'll be creating a capital project. So I think that can come back to us cleaned up.
Could that be brought back on the, whatever.
All right, it's
23rd.
Tabled indefinitely, so.
They can come back changed and cleaned up and whenever the capital projects are put in there.
We had discussed that in the finance committee meeting as well for 254 to remove that in relation to 252. So.
All right, Heather, do we get 254? No?
You're on that right now.
Okay.
Making a motion to lay that over.
254, all right.
We were having this conversation because we're gonna bring you back a new resolution.
We're gonna bring it back a new one, and that's where Right.
We were gonna remove the
what we
resolution.
were gonna do
due
with
to
both
prior
of those
table.
to the beginning, so I'll make a motion to table 254 indefinitely.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, let's put those to bed.
Uh,
255, approving a request for new water service fee reimbursement to Louis Grossi Inc. for 3477 Westlake Road.
So moved.
Second,
Moved and seconded, any discussion?
we also in the finance committee meeting, we were just gonna ask you for an explanation of this today, Jim.
He doesn't want to pay for too much water meter every quarter, so he wants to run. It's pretty expensive bill every quarter when you're not there.
Okay. So that's just a reimbursement for
That's it. He paid
lowering
for
the
a
cost.
2-inch, doesn't want to pay for 2-inch minimum quarterly bill.
Everybody already got a 2-inch?
No, he did 2-inch meters. But we already charged him for it.
So I got charged for a 2, got a 1,
I
and now
don't
one's
buy those
reimbursed.
large meters until we get paid,
Right,
so,
So wait, say that again. He got charged for a 2
right,
and was given a 1.
well, he hasn't, like, given, yeah, or whatever. He will get it when they're ready,
Okay,
which will require a reimbursement of 1455.
right?
okay.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, carries. Resolution 256, appointment of transfer station operators.
So moved.
Second,
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor?
aye.
Aye. Carried. Resolution 257, approving the grant of an access easement on the property located at 5560 Airport Road.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Carries. Resolution 258, Reads Across America.
So moved.
Second.
As amended to read
12 sponsored veterans needs to be changed to 14 sponsored veterans reads.
So I'll second your motion to amend the resolution. All in favor of amending the resolution to 14?
Aye.
Aye. And all in favor of the amendment as the resolution is amended?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Carries. I got, yeah. I didn't have him whispering other things in my ear, so it made it a little bit easier. Resolution 259, acceptance of construction sureties.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Carries. All right, approval of the town board meeting minutes.
Hey, don't hate me, but I'll move to approve them, but I have some amendments.
So do you want to make a, before we do that? I think Jean wants to share some, has something to share regarding the town board minutes.
Good evening. I'm here to ask for your cooperation in regards to our town board minutes. Unfortunately, because I haven't been in the office much, Heather and Crystalline have been very helpful in doing the town board minutes. And in the past, what I've been trying to do over the last 10 years is any public comment be as descriptive as possible. But when it comes to town board discussions, it's town board discussed A, B, C, D. And I'm asking the town board for your cooperation that we continue with that and not have special requests for certain things in minutes, such as I want a statement in there because another town board member, they didn't like how another town board member was speaking or anything like that. My staff is new. Heather is the one that's been here a year and a half. Crystalline's been here just over 6 months. Sam is entering his 3rd month. They're under a lot of pressure. And a couple of weeks ago, you guys had 5 meetings in 1 week. It took those girls 2 full weeks to get those 5 minutes done. They're working really hard, and it's coming upon tax season. So Crystalline and Heather, luckily Heather went through a full tax season. Crystalline came in at the very end of this last one. So it's a whole new ball of wax for Crystalline, getting the tax bills prepared and out the door. So I'm asking for your cooperation. The minutes are the town clerk's minutes of what the procedures have, to what was taken place at the meeting. So it's their recollection. If there is something that the town board as a whole would like to have in those minutes, I would highly recommend a motion, a second, and a quorum of the board, majority of the board passing that. And once that correction has been approved, the minutes that go in the minute book and in general code and et cetera, those changes will be in italics with a date on next to them. That's how we are instructed in all of our training to take care of those. So I'm just asking for your cooperation. If there's typographical errors, yes, please let us know, please. But if there's something specific like the RSM project, well, the Greg Westbrook project, if there's something specific that you want in the minutes, please let us know ahead of time so we can plan the workload in the office. So that's why I'm here. I'm asking for your cooperation and your help. My staff is struggling, and I'm doing everything I can to support them as best I can. Chris, did you have anything else?
I did, and I've long felt this, and to be honest, I don't often read the town board meeting minute drafts or approve meeting minutes. I don't feel like the town has to pay me to do that. I was at the meetings and I know what happened, and if there's 1,000 sets of eyes on them. Meeting minutes, according to New York State Open Meeting Law, Section 106, state that minutes shall be taken at all open meetings, which shall consist of a record or summary of all motions, proposals, resolutions, and any other matter formally voted upon and the vote. Now you have a town clerk who has been documenting subject matter and conversations and quotations. And that some meeting minutes do have that, some don't. The town clerk is definitely not obligated to put anything in that like that. It could be 4 pages of meeting minutes, not 40. You do have on your Zoom meeting, transcript, you see right there at the bottom. That obviously doesn't say who said what, but it is documentation that I think you're looking for and I think might not have a place in meeting minutes, especially if your clerk is overwhelmed. And I'll be honest, I was guilty of the same thing. I said, hey, I want what I said included in the minutes too. And she called me on it and said, you're killing me. I said, you know what, I don't want to be quoted. I don't think any of the town board, it's not a quotation mechanism, it's a what happened at the meeting mechanism.
And we try to generalize the conversation is what we're trying to do, just so that the public, because I know previously you go back 15, 20 years, you would see in the minutes, there was a town board discussion. Didn't say what that was about or anything like that. So my office has been trying really hard to kind of give some further detail. But just to give you an update, in terms of the Astra to Firefly, Heather and I and Lindsay had a meeting this morning. We have to actually go in and put in a lot of the details. A lot of that information is not being carried over. For example, the cost of all the cabins. We have to do that. So there's a lot going on up in the town clerk's office. So that's why I'm here tonight. I'm just asking for your cooperation and understanding. So any questions for me?
I have a question for the statement. I think we've been spoiled for years. Reading through the minutes, there's too much detail in there. It's not necessary. What you quoted, Chris, from New York State town law, that's the requirement. That's in there. What happens with the resolution, documenting that, that's all that's really required. Having some general discussion.
Extra.
In my opinion, that could go in as that. You have, YouTube videos. If somebody really wants to get into the nitty gritty, once they get posted, look it up. I have no problem.
And I know too that, and I think you guys do a fantastic job.
Thank
And the
you.
number of hours that were spent. I don't even want to put the number out there because it was incredible the amount of time that was spent on these. And it doesn't need to be it's not a blow by blow.
No.
It's not a court transcript. So we shouldn't expect it to be like a court transcript or anything like that. I also, and this is something that we might want to put into consideration for our rules of procedure for January, that I know some organizations, some municipalities, if for privilege of the floor and for public hearings, if you want your statement included in the minutes of the meeting, you present the statement, you present that in writing. And that might be something, not now, but to discuss that for our January rules of procedure, that we put that in there, that public is free to speak, but if you want to include it in there, add your written comments and they will be transposed into the meeting minutes. They will be included in there in full, but otherwise, if somebody spoke, and I think that's another thing that we need to look at to make it fair to everybody who's doing this and trying to keep up on that.
If I may, if you do have something specific you want, you can type it up and make a motion that this statement be included as an addendum to the meeting minutes or an attachment. That way it's not part of the record of the clerk's record, but it is still documented and attached to the minutes. We still need 3 votes to approve doing that. But my suggestion.
Any other questions, comments?
Okay.
All right. Thank you very much. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
I have one other thing. I think we're all guilty of doing what Gene just accused all of us of doing. But I don't think Gene has ever told any of us, could you please stop? So I don't think anyone was actively trying to.
I heard her ask you to stop one time. Say, stop asking me to change these all the time. She's like, you
Please
just
stop.
just stop.
So that being said, I do have some typographical corrections there for the September 18th meeting minutes.
Do you just want to give those to the office?
I can give them to the office if you like. One of them is just Peter Brew is throughout the minutes as GRU for his last name. His last name is BRUU.
He is a boy.
Despicable
Yes,
me.
BRUU,
Okay,
2 U's.
thank you.
And the other one is just, it's actually within my comment, and I'll show you this later, but it basically is back going to the section right before we got to that, where it was saying, it says rather than just keep as from the open space fund, which I'm not in favor of because it doesn't join the parkland. I had actually said because it adjoins the parkland, so I'll bring that up, but that actually changed the meaning of the sentence, so I'll bring that to you.
All right, so thank you for that. With that said, can I get a motion to approve the meetings from set 3 meetings from September 18th, September 20th, and September 21st?
Second.
Moved and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Sorry,
Minutes are
I have,
approved.
I have one more question. Sorry. Your August 21st meeting minutes,
Yes,
you laid them over to September and they were never voted upon.
and they were not, what I was told was they had not been
They have not been redrafted
drafted.
because my understanding is that the town board as a whole, I believe, is requesting the presentation be more detailed. Is that correct?
I'm not. So the minutes from the 21st?
August 21st.
I believe Councilmember Casey and myself had asked for there to be something in there indicating that we had specific questions about the incentive zoning.
Okay. Was there a motion and a second to do that?
There was not.
That's my recollection.
That is my recollection.
The two of you and me at the same, say, can you please say that I said that I've withdrawn my request to have that included.
So, because the reason I'm bringing it up is you're asking for the minutes as presented to you to be amended. That's why I'm bringing this up. Do you want the minutes amended to reflect the further detail?
I'll withdraw my motion to amend the meeting as our town attorney has.
Okay, all right.
So then
Do you want to do a motion to approve those tonight?
we all have them. They have not changed, correct?
Yep.
So as presented to us and the meeting date is?
August 21st.
Okay. So can I get a motion to approve the meeting minutes from August 21st?
So moved.
Okay, moved and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, carries.
I will make this point as Gene and Crystal were asking me about that. I'm just saying that, but why are you making us do extra work? I looked at the September meeting minutes discussing the August meeting minutes. And they said, and Councilmember Rudolph said, please include this. Councilmember Casey, Attorney Nadler. So there's tons of documentation of what we all said and it's elsewhere. So I'm withdrawing the request.
Doesn't change any of that?
Substantive matters.
Okay. All right, Heather, can you read the bills, please?
Okay. Special abstract land purchase dated 9/21/2023 totaling $301,971.30 from that general fund. Utility abstract dated 9/29/2023 totaling $25,633.58. General fund, $21,183.03. Highway fund, $435.85. Water districts, $4,014.70. Town board abstract dated 10/16/2023 totaling $723,205.76. general fund, $162,039.18. Highway fund, $286,209.91. Capital projects, $60,535.84. Lighting districts, $1,221.63. Water districts, $207,145.20. And uptown bid, $6,054.
Thank you. Can I get a motion to pay the bills?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All right, bills are paid. We have no other business at the time. This time, we have one final privilege of the floor.
What about this cannabis?
There was not. So that's where there was no cannabis there was no agenda item for cannabis. The only thing that was included, thank you for bringing that up, was an email that was sent to the clerk's office.
Right.
A request. And this is in the agenda. We're referring to, this is in the agenda packet and the attachments for the communications. October 3rd, 2023, Deputy Clerk Crystalline. She responded, please find attached local law number 7 of 2021, adopted July 19th, 2021, regarding the notification, basically saying that we opted out of retail dispensaries. And it says the site on Route 364 is located within the town of Canandaigua. So there is no resolution. It was an online application from the Office of Cannabis Management. And the response to them was that the town of Canandaigua opted out. Good. So there is no action for us to take at this time on that. And I don't figure we have any other discussion to have on that at this time.
On that topic. So you had a request tonight from a gentleman to ask that go before the ordinance committee. I also share from a conversation that I had today with code enforcement. They are starting to run into some issues where there are facilities in the town of Canandaigua that are gifting essentially the dispense without selling them when there's certain dollar limits that have been reached.
Like you buy a shirt and you get a
Pretty much.
thing.
So I think that there probably should be more conversation at the ordinance committee, and I think it is appropriate to really kind of have a conversation if we
Kind of
could.
hammer down on that.
So
Courtney Stahl was his name.
I'd say that might move up the list a little bit.
And if it's important to you, I recommend enforcement mechanisms.
Yeah, so we need to have that.
Because your vape shops, I'm sure, are selling marijuana without the license.
Right.
It's not an accusation, just something.
The statement of
Other municipalities.
that we're not the only ones dealing with this right now. All right, anybody else? I don't think there's anyone for the final privilege of the floor. We do not have any executive sessions at this time. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Meeting adjourned.